Hi, folks.
You
Hi,
hit the
everybody.
button.
Oi.
Hi.
Hello,
We're
and
here.
welcome to a very special edition of whatever this is, just the two of us,
Just the
Was it George
starring
Benson
all
or
three of us.
they had
Matt?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, we knew that, but I think we should share this.
Uh yeah, I forgot to even share it or anything until he hits the start button and I'm like, wait a second.
Oh,
We're doing a stupid
well,
show.
Facebook.
if you don't share it, you should at least sunny it.
Yeah, sung it.
Sunny or share it. Doesn't matter.
One of my
Okay.
Facebook friends was in their band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let me see. Let me join us. Join us and you'll be sorry.
We're not
right.
joking.
I know, right?
This is a warning. This podcast may cause brain tumors.
Hey,
There
at
you go.
least we're honest.
There you go. Well, mine says,
No,
"Save us, here our only hope."
he was in Sonny and Cher's band in the '60s,
Oh,
Oh, nice.
and he's one of the only kind of celebrity Facebook friends that kind of regularly comments on my stuff, my pictures and
Oh.
things, and likes. But I didn't like him because of Sonny and Cher. I didn't know that until later. But I'd played him on my Fun Hour a few times in a couple different bands. So anyway. So
Honestly, I didn't
tell us
even know
about
they had
this
a.
neighbor that you've got that you had in Florida.
Oh yeah. So I had this neighbor that was in Florida. Was that great? No, so like anyways, you know how like on Facebook you get these people you may know requests or whatever. They pop up. And so I was neighbors with this lady for like 5 years. She was teaching my son like Spanish. Then we moved up to Washington State, but she still stayed in touch and did it through like whatever this is, the computer. And so the other day I'm just scrolling through and like it says this is a friend request
Well,
kind of
didn't you
thing.
say she
You
passed away?
Yeah, she had died. She had died like 3 years ago, but Facebook still's got that algorithm where they show these things, and she had made a bunch of accounts because she kept getting like, broken into and locked out. So unfortunately, the picture that she had chose for this particular account was because it was around Halloween time was a skeleton. So yeah,
That's
she's got
Ah,
so you're like, ah.
yeah, it was photo accurate at the
yeah.
time
So
probably.
Deborah Milstein did that. She had like 5 different Facebook accounts. I think that old people saying that they got locked out and had to do a new, that's the same as old people, the accelerator stuck
Yeah.
on their car. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, that never happened.
That never happened. Proved, yeah.
And
I only
people,
got one account.
yeah, or they'll comment something on Facebook or whatever, and they'll say, "Oh, I was wrong about that. You know, this is what I really meant to say." And I'm like, you can go back and edit your comment, right?
Well, my favorite old person thing is still they will comment on a random post you made. It'll have nothing to do with the post. It'll just be, "Oh, how are you doing? Oh, my dog jumped through a hula hoop today, and is it raining over there?" And it's like, come on, old
Yeah,
person.
those are boomers.
Look, dude, that's my mom. Shit. I I fucking posted something one time like it was a joke or something like, something supposed to be funny, but like most people don't get my sense of humor, so they're like, "Oh, that's cool. Give me a thumbs up." But she writes this elaborate thing, "Oh, your uncle's wife just passed away and like your dog has cancer." And I was like, "What the hell? Why are you writing that here?" It was like a comment at the thing. I was like, "Mom, why?"
Molly was the worst. She embarrassed me so bad. That she might as well have been like a mother, wetting her a, a finger and rubbing your cheek with it in front of your friends. Uh, it was Kathy Coleman. Uh,
Okay.
Kathy commented on a picture of mine, and Molly responded to her and says, "Timmy, isn't it cool when your heroes respond to you?" I'm just like, oh my god. I was so embarrassed.
Did Kathy Coleman ever talk to you again after that?
No, she never talked to me again.
No, that was it.
Anyone they
But
went
the
to
thing
Disney
is
World
they're
together.
not. They've never been. Or she said idols. I said they've never been my idols. They're my TV family. They were always just kind of my family, you know. My idol was Fred Brodsky, who Molly comes in and compares him to Bob Newhart.
Man,
Molly,
my
if you're
idols told
here,
me to
come
get the
on
hell
in.
out of the way.
I'm not using it. I'm using my regular face. The
Right.
face. See?
Regular face. I
Yeah.
like it.
It's me.
It's
When I look in the mirror every morning.
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to comb your hair.
Yep.
Actually, I'd rather see this in the mirror, probably sometimes.
I wouldn't. I'd be freaked out, dude, because one, I'm like seeing you in my mirror. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here?
Oh,
Two,
especially
car.
when I've used your deodorant, you know. I used to, that
Strong
commercial
enough for
used
a
to freak
man.
me out. That it freaked me out a little bit because I didn't realize that they just shared the medicine cabinet from a different room. I thought that there was some weird magic involved or something that this
There
guy's in.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking weird magic.
So I was wanting to make a video like we can make current event videos.
Huh?
Nice.
Do you know what would be neat? Because like the other YouTubers do,
the
but I
YouTubers.
thought we could make a twist. Like, so we're going to do one about celebrities who are behind the scenes, actually very nice people.
Both
First,
of them.
Steven Seagal. We could just be wrong about everything we say.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I think that would get us a following. What do you say?
Huzzah! Go for it, lads. Huzzah! Huzzah!
Or we could be like the Quartering or these right-wing talk show hosts that their cover, you know, their title for their video is Trump nukes China, and we're like, what? You go in and it means he said a tweet about China.
Yeah.
And that's what they mean. I was like, can
Or
you
he
make
put some.
more
He put some fucking. Oh, what do you call it? Great Wall stuff in the microwave.
what?
Old Spice.
No.
Right.
I went up. I was searching for a Chinese restaurant chain name. Couldn't think of a damn one. You know, Colonel Pong or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Oh God. Yeah, I loved his balls
There you
on the
go.
table. Yeah.
Like,
Hit him
and
with a paddle.
I think it was the Quartering as well that he started off a video saying, "My wife killed herself."
Oh man, yeah,
He said,
no.
My wife killed herself trying to make Christmas cards for everybody. And I'm just like, who? And I look at his first comment is, "Don't ever start your video like that," saying
It
something
wasn't a video;
like
it was
that.
just a post. But that was the first words of the post.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was Scarlett's husband, Joe. And I
Wow.
said, "Do not ever start a post with those 5 words ever again, or I'll find you and I'll kill you."
Oh, that was you. I thought
Of course,
that,
it was me.
No, so who was it that said that then? I was thinking it was like a video of the Quartering or something. I just remembered.
No,
very
it wasn't a
little of
video or anything. It was just a regular text post on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We gotta go, people.
Oh,
Christ.
oh,
It's
fine.
been
We're
surreal.
stuck. We got nothing. It's just me, just a bee, a T-bird, and this weird ass thing behind me.
Sounds like a Beach Boy song, dude.
That's a Space Shuttle Columbia. I saw it at the Stapleton Airport.
Really?
See you, Neb. Be safe.
All right, take it easy,
Thanks for
guys.
watching the film. I'll try to send it to you.
Awesome. If you need any, we'll try to do the brilliant garbage stuff later then.
Yeah.
Just
Let's
pick a
work on
day.
it. I'll start laying it out before me and see what needs to be done to get this first one out the door.
Yeah, just try to find
And
a
next
schedule,
week, if
too.
you're on next week, just please don't wear a blue suit. You're not supposed to wear a blue suit.
Not supposed to wear blue. my faux pas. Am I bleeding through? I
I
can't
see
tell.
an L.
No, that's the
Oh,
latest thing about the president is now he's Hitler now because he wore a blue suit at the Pope's funeral.
Oh,
because Hitler
news.
actually
I never
preferred
watched
like
that
the
shit.
brown suit. Yeah.
Well, see, they started off with Hitler, so now everything else they say a blue suit's like it's not quite as Hitler-esque as.
Fun size Hitler loves his marijuana.
Did you make that the fun size Hitler? Was that one of your things? Oh,
Fun-sized
funny.
Hitler, yeah.
Hadn't heard that in a while. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Have a
Okay,
good,
later, guys.
Ah,
later.
Have a good show. Peace out.
Thanks. Have a good
L
night.
Buffalo. I see a
Yeah.
letter L and a big buffalo, and that's about it. All right. Well, that was a fun show.
I guess that's it. What else are we gonna do? What?
I don't know. Somebody's banging on stuff across the street. I don't know if they're putting in a fence or taking one out. Because it's a fad around here to put like a wall and like a steel fence all the way around your property. I guess to keep the riffraff out or whatever. But it makes it look like you're living in a damn prison.
Yeah. I just asked Gottschalk if he can come in because we're about to call it quits at this rate. Shit. It's disappointing.
And the thing is, did Steve even mention the show this morning during the morning show? I was like half asleep.
I don't know. I'm at work. Conference calls with people. I'm doing all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. People are posting like, all my nut job friends are posting the crop pictures showing, him in a blue suit, and then all my friends on the other side are showing the whole picture where it's not cropped, and half the guys have got blue suits.
Yeah, I know. They tried to carefully crop it to make it look like he was the only one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't just. The thing is that they're so bad at photoshopping that if they tried to just put black suits on everybody else, they would you'd see like a reflection of an airplane in one suit, or it's just like they should hire me to Photoshop. I can't believe they must pay people a lot of money to do that, and they can't even Photoshop anything right. Like the Jimmy Carter ventriloquist dummy picture.
But that was, I don't know if that was shopped or just a weird lens. I'd never gotten any, it's like that stupid picture from the Happy Days reunion where the one guy's arm is bigger around than everybody else's chest. And it's just one side, like he's one of those fiddler crabs.
Even if they use a very wide angle lens to get everybody in the picture with the Carters, it's like, you can go into Photoshop and correct that, right?
Yeah. Or it's like
distortion.
Yeah, those panorama where the lens actually turns, and then a cat will walk through, and you end up with a 15-foot long cat with 18 legs. You ever see?
Oh yeah. Centipede cat. Well, Gottschalk can join us in an hour.
Yeah, great. I'll be dead in an hour. Okay, whatever.
I'm so tempted to just put in BeamNG Drive or something and have us play that until people can show up.
So I'm looking at the list.
That might be our ticket to stardom.
There you go.
Did actually you couldn't get yours to work or something?
Who's that? What?
You couldn't get yours to work?
Yeah, I don't think because I don't have a video card. I'm just using the onboard graphics on the processor. So it just didn't move well. But they just posted the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. And okay, I mean, bad company, about 20 years too late, but who cares? Chubby Checker, from, okay. Glad to see they're right on it. Say it again?
Bad Company, I can understand why they wouldn't include that because it's a real rock band. And they have a thing about that. But Chubby Checker, he's black. He should have been there the first year.
Yeah. Well, they also have, and there's two that I've never heard of. One called Thom Bell. Maybe we might pronounce it Tom, but it's with a TH. Never heard of him. And somebody named Lenny Warunker. Never heard of him either. And Outcast, which I've heard of, but I would never knowingly or voluntarily listen to. Outcast?
Oh, maybe it's the Outcasts.
I thought it was
one of my original before Apology None. I was thinking
Oh.
of calling us Outcast about
Okay. Then you had to
1991.
change it to the new originals.
No, I was gonna use Outcast. I mean, it was in my mind because I was thinking of band names, and then I heard some commercial saying that it was some country band. The Outcasts, had an S at the end. I'm like,
Oh no,
well, I
this
guess
was
that means,
Outcast, and instead of a C, there's a K, and it's singular. And I think that's a hip hop group. And
sounds like it.
Warren Zevon, well, he only passed away 20 years ago, so good. You get right on that. And then Soundgarden, oh, good. He's floofied himself too, so they're probably safe on the ceremony if they've only choose dead people.
Yeah, I guess so. They don't have to have food in the green room for them and
Right.
stuff.
Oh, and Salt and Pepper.
Good grief.
Salt and Pepper belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It would be depressing if I gave them any clout to start with.
Yeah.
When I remember when they were uh, just when they hadn't even built it yet, and when they chose Cleveland, it automatically couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
It's just those uppity elitists. It's the music elitists. Apologize. It's them.
Yep. Oh.
They like oboes and stuff. And
Well, the
Orange
oboe
Light.
may be fairly pleasing.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about Greg, the Australian
Mhm.
guy who played Blue, the security guard. That was because I was trying to come up with a really dumb, obscure instrument for our Owen, the naggy old man to play, and he gave me the pictures, the cor anglais, and I'm like, yep, that's perfect. That was off a true. I mean, that really happened to me. I think most of because I was serving hors d'oeuvres, horse ovaries in the lobby at a play, and that guy came out yelling at me. I can't read my sheet music. Oh, I just drew him just like I remembered him, except I don't think he had a hat. He was just bald. But most of the stuff from that film, like Last Page of Summer, had so many things that happened in real life,
Yeah.
and this one, instead of that, a lot of the stuff happened in dreams.
Ah.
Like the Bandstands Theater, where Terry was dressed as a hot dog. That whole theater to me was a dream.
Ah.
Like there was this place like near, Garden of the Gods in Colorado, somewhere in the mountains, that there was this amphitheater. And Colorado, that's one of the kind of neat things is like Red Rocks and different things. You can go to the amphitheater and just play around and go on stage when they're not doing shows. They're not locked off. So they're like state parks. And that's
Oh,
kind of how
right,
it was. I was in this Bandstands, the one I designed, and it was just like in the morning, and there were just a few people, just tourists. It even had like those basket-looking balconies in it on each side. It was just I managed to make it just like the dreams. That was kind of cool.
Hmm.
And the most significant dream related to the movie, the thermos.
Product placement. Maybe they'll sponsor us.
I'm picking out a thermos for you. The jerk.
Anyhow, yeah, Red Rocks or something.
I was just thinking about the dreams I had that
Dreams.
ended up in the movie.
Right.
One was when they started their journey in the van. It shows them going over a bridge with a circular canyon beneath with a road wrapping around the circle. And my little Mustang's on the road below.
Mm.
You know the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was from a dream. And then I had a dream where there was a bridge junkyard in this meadow, and I ran across one of the bridge. It was like the Paseo Bridge in Kansas City, but it was this dry docked. It was there, and I was running across it, and the towers were swaying as I was running. It was all zigzagged, and that made it into the film.
Yeah.
And then the same dream, I like went over a hill or whatever, and there was like some kind of exhibition or a hotel or whatever, and there was this globe that was made of water, like a sprinkler. I like got inside the globe and it disappeared.
Oh, right.
So that made it into the film. So it's like a couple major things in that film came from and climbing up the bridges. That was from dreams. So I don't know.
Yeah. See, my dreams don't even make that much sense.
I I generally write them down if they're interesting that morning before they disappear. If you can get them when they're fresh in your mind, a lot of times you can salvage them. Is Put still in the doctor in the hospital thing?
Well, he said he was getting a hospital bed built into his house and a nurse. So basically going to turn his house into a hospital room.
Dang. Like a nurse all the time or one that comes in once a day?
Probably once a day. I can't imagine what boy.
I don't have enough money to like buy Put a new body.
No.
If I did, I would.
At least my thing seems to have cleared up for the most part.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you seem better.
Yeah, I'm getting more sleep now because it didn't hurt anymore when I try to sleep.
Well, in Steve's show at the very end, I said, see you in a few hours. He has to know it's Tuesday.
Yeah, but
I
he
think
didn't.
that's my pet peeve. If they can't make it, fine. Let us know.
Yeah.
Is it that hard?
Well, for him, I would I would buy it if he said he completely forgot because but it's really weird.
Then I don't know how you completely forget.
Oh, the older you get, the easier it is.
It's not
Yay,
like
I'm
he's
getting a
next door.
hospital bed for in the house tomorrow, also nursing help. That was 2 hours ago. And people are like commenting, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" Must not communicate with them that much.
Well, I'm thinking about it.
Thinking. Shouldn't be doing that.
I'm going to send Vinny the film,
Ah,
and if he reads the email, I'll say we're doing our show. Can you come in and help us?
yeah. Oh, somebody's spamming up Steve Jarrett's page with the weight loss bullshit. You know, where you is the blah blah is with Steve Jarrett and 47 others, so tagging everybody, and so there's all this goofy weight loss crap, and then everything is that. That's why I don't accept friend requests unless we've met or we've got mutuals.
Yep. Let me see. Here is a copy of the film. It's a bit large, but it is full HD. Hope you dig it. Also, we are doing BabbleGab right now and are short-handed if you want to drop in and fill us in on your new project, new album stuff. And I'll just give him the link, I guess.
Yes.
Right. All right. Sorry, everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
There
So
we go.
join us if you're
Just,
and say hello to us and do all that good stuff. And there's Gottschalk. Yeah, thank you, Gottschalk.
would he say something?
Oh, on the YouTube chat, he says this week is just one of those off weeks, like every other show. Okay. Thanks for that vote of confidence there. So
I didn't even see that. I see. We'll try to hang in there is the last thing I see.
No. The YouTube.
Oh, I didn't even think of looking at our YouTube chat.
I've been
Just
keeping
one
an
of
eye
those
on it.
weeks, like every other.
I've been keeping an eye on it, just in case somebody shows up. It shows.
Well, shoot, if somebody was there in our chat, then I would have totally ignored them. I'm glad that made you feel bad. That kind of happened last week. I wasn't ignoring anybody, but I think I had to get up to take care of Captain and
Yeah. How's he doing?
take a pee or do what?
How's he doing?
He keeps rolling around and pulling the bandage off, and I trusted him without his cone for a while. I think yesterday or the day before, and then he snuck away and got at it. So now he just wears the cone all the time, except when he's eating. But now it's kind of it's no longer a deep gash. It's just kind of a flat sore, that still needs attention. I forgot to put him on his antibiotics before.
Ooh.
So now I've got him on the antibiotics regularly. So I'm hoping it'll help take care of it. Yeah, but I think the sore's getting better. It's like I said, it's not a deep wound anymore. It's just kind of a flat thing.
Oh, cool. Okay, so it's on the right path then.
I think so. It's still kind of a wet looking thing, but if I wipe it with anything, it doesn't bleed or anything like that. It's just, but I clean it with a spray sterilizer and about 3 or 4 times a day, and then I put a new honey pad on it, and, which doesn't ever stay.
Yeah.
But they want, the vet had me put these, the thick gauze wraps, the ones that are kind of flesh color.
Oh yeah.
Wanted me to wrap those to like stick it on. And she says, but if you got to keep an eye on because it'll kind of taste like honey and Lucy will eat it. And if that happens, we'll have to, to get her stomach pumped or whatever. It'll be thousands of dollars. So that was worrying me because it's like, great, you want me to put honey on his wound and my other dog has got to stay away from it. Fortunately, the way she had him dressed up with those things, as soon as he got in the car, that was off. It fell off. So I'm like, well, I'm not even going to use those. I bought them, but I'm just like, I'll keep them in the cars. I like to keep things in every car, like first aid kits and a little mini drugstore, toothbrush, just mouthwash, just anything that you might need, bug spray or sunblock, just anything you might need away from home. It's kind of nice to have it in a little duffel bag.
Yeah.
So I'll carry those with me in case there's an accident, and I'll be like, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV, and I can get my gauze pads out and stuff like that. And if it's like a hot woman, and I give her mouth to mouth, and she's like, I'm breathing just fine. I'm like, no, I'm the guy that knows what I'm doing, and that's not. I like Rape. Wasn't that guy on what was it, Blazing Saddles?
Yeah. You said it twice.
That was actually funny. I didn't think that movie was funny, and somebody played a clip of that recently, and I'm like, well, that was actually pretty funny. Maybe I ought to watch it someday.
Yeah, it's just an amalgamation of just a little funny bits. So some of them hit and some of them don't.
Well, that's total Mel Brooks. I saw it when I was young at the drive-in, and all I remembered from it was they were around a campfire farting,
Yeah.
and then I remembered a black guy at the end driving a Cadillac uh, onto their Western
Yeah.
set, and that's the only things I remembered from it. And so I really haven't seen it other than that, other than the little kids. But I just kind of know that Dennis used to play that Harvey Korman doing the, the
Yeah, yeah.
that you do. And I didn't ever think that was the least bit funny. And is it going to be 2 hours of that?
Not really.
Yeah, because if that was so funny, it was worth playing every week. I mean, to me, it wasn't funny at all. Of course, I'm not hearing it in any kind of context.
Yeah.
But I've seen Mel Brooks movies before. Some of them have some pretty good laughs, and a lot of times it's like that wasn't funny at all. But I don't know. I think with Mel Brooks, I think you're guaranteed to at least be entertained somewhat.
Yeah.
I think it's like History of the World Part One. I liked it when I
Oh,
saw it in the theater,
yeah.
and
I
then
can't remember if I ever seen that. I think I did.
we were just kids, and Mom took us, and she was embarrassed.
Ooh.
Uh, she said it was like monkeys jerking off, starting off the movie, and she was so embarrassed. Like, what did she take us to? And so I was only 11 or 12, and I liked it. I thought it was funny, but then I saw it on TV. I guess that's a mistake. They probably cut everything out, but I saw it on TV, and I remember it being still pretty funny. But it's like the whole last act of the film. It must have been a half an hour. Was women synchronized? It was Roman. They were doing the Roman thing, and
Oh,
it seemed
yeah.
like the Roman age took up half the film, and it was just like women synchronized swimming. And I don't remember a single damn funny bit in it.
Yeah.
It's like, shoot, if I want to see funny Romans, I'll watch The Life of Brian.
And
Uh,
that one I've never seen.
I do recommend that, even though it's I won't say blasphemous, because Monty Python, they used to try to excuse it because it was a very controversial movie when it came out, like because people thought they were making fun of Jesus. They're like, we weren't making fun of Jesus at all. This is followers. So it's like, yeah, so you're just making fun of Christians and Christianity, but not Jesus. It's kind of one and the same, you know.
Oh my God. Hey.
And in space,
Yep.
Yes.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like how you did that. I think that you're like Captain Kirk, you're like swinging around the ship sideways and stuff like he does
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, the original background I was going to put on was going to be the HAL 9000, but it kind of looks silly. It looked like a ring around my head. So
Oh, yeah. That's right.
What was the HAL 9000? Oh, was that from
2001.
2001? I never did. That's the one I never saw, and I really don't want to.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay. One of those highbrow.
movies. It's one of those movies that Phil got so mad at me in Steve's chat because I was saying that most of the movies in the 70s sucked, and he was just like, "What about Apocalypse Now?" And it's like every movie he said, China Syndrome and all these movies he said, I'm just like, they all suck. They're all movies that the la-di-da elitist crowd are just like, oh, it's the best movie ever, and they just all seem boring and depressing.
however, it wasn't 2001: A Space Odyssey like 1968.
68.
Yeah, but it reminded me of that.
Yeah.
That
But
was
it was a
start of
highbrow
long,
movie. It was
boring-
one of those intellectual movies.
Yeah, intellectual movies that at least Citizen Kane, which is considered an intellectual movie, was entertaining to me, and but because I finally did see that, but he got mad. Phil was really taking it personal. I was just giving him a hard time. I was just clowning on him because most of those movies I never even saw, but I really don't want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there were good 70s movies until probably Jaws and Star Wars. I do like Murder by Death. That was a very funny movie. I'm not saying that we're all bad back then, but when
Or
they
Thunderbolt and
lifted
Lightfoot.
that was depressing too. That's
Oh, yeah.
when they lifted that ban that in Hollywood on what you can do in movies in like the late 60s, they removed the ban. And people, they made up for lost time in a horrible way, where they just it was just depressing, gory death, full of smut, and and not good smut, but dirty, hairy, smut.
Yeah.
I didn't see Dirty Harry for years because I thought it was about a woman. There, we got a
Dirty and
precious
hairy.
moment finally.
Dirty and hairy. There you go.
That were kind of right up there with Rosemary's Baby,
Which I didn't want to see because it came out when I was a kid. I thought it was going to be like weird and gross and scary. And then I think I finally saw it in the aughts. And what got me was how funny it was, because Ruth Gordon was like a major character.
Was it supposed to be funny or just low budget funny?
No. It was done with a sense of humor. Like, I mean, as much of a sense of humor as you can have about like a devil baby, whatever, and devil worshippers and all that. But just Ruth Gordon is Ruth Gordon, even when she plays like a devil worshipper who rides a little scooter around. But there was enough
scooter too.
It was enough humor in it that I wasn't expecting. I still haven't seen The Exorcist because I don't really like pea soup.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that would look grosser than barf. If they'd have just had her barf, it would have been less gross than the pea soup.
I think I watched it one time, like way back when, though. I mean, I can vaguely like remember watching it, but I think I watched it. And then they had like The Exorcist 2 or something.
I liked there's a song from Exorcist 2. I played it on a fun hour. It's really crazy sounding song.
Tubular Bells.
And I really liked the song, that's why I played it. But I remember it from when I was a little kid. And the guy who did it, the song was like the guy who did like Good, Bad, and the Ugly, those movie themes.
Yeah.
So he was. I thought I don't like horror movies. I just don't care for them. They don't interest me.
I like the old ones because they don't gross you out. They're just.
Yeah, now it's just about.
I mean, like the original Frankenstein, the original Dracula. I enjoy those. From 31.
To me, like the Indian guy that did Signs and Sixth Sense.
Oh yeah.
Those are movies to me that were scary, but in a good way.
Yeah.
They're kind of thrillers, and they draw you in, and then they creep you out. It make your skin crawl, but without just gore, buckets of gore, and without jump scares.
Yeah.
That's the cheap way of doing it. Jump scares and gore. And if you can make a scary movie without that, then to me that's almost worth watching. But I don't like depressing stuff particularly. It's like, why do I want to go out of my way for depressing stuff?
Yeah.
But Darren loves it. He loves depressing stuff.
We can watch Treasure of the Four Crowns.
That's
That
a movie about what,
depressing
dentistry?
until our walk home.
Is that movie about dentistry?
Yes.
The only thing I remember from that movie is the protagonist at the end, his head was spinning around.
Does your head spin around?
His head spun around. You heard that story before. Darren and I and Gottschalk and our couple other friends, we made the trek from our neighborhood to Buckingham Palace.
Ah.
It's a long trek,
Yeah.
and it was in the snow. And it was not only in the snow, it was like a blizzard. We were having a pretty good snowfall. And by the time we got to the theater, we were all snowmen. And we sat in the theater and thawed out and watched this 3D movie. And at the end of the movie, we were soaking wet and had to walk home at night when it was even much colder in this blizzard now. And now we're soaking wet. I don't know why one of us my mom wouldn't have picked us up if I'd have even called her.
Yeah, my parents probably would have went dumbasses.
I was about as blue as this car right here was. It was one of the most miserable times I can really remember. It was terrible. Just terrible.
Well, that's what Darren did the most. You know, he would just like get up, go, okay, I'm going to the movie now. Bye. And everybody like, fine. Okay. I mean, he would just get up and go.
Darren does some weird things. I was just thinking about, those things that Darren does that piss us off. Darren, if you're watching this, we love you. But
Absolutely.
one time him and his wife, they go to Colorado, I guess, and he wanted me to house sit for him. So I went to his house, and I don't know if how long they were gone. Maybe a week, maybe a few days. I don't remember. But I go there, and there's a full sink full of dirty dishes. Like, they just piled them up. And they're like, oh, Timmy can wash them all. Guess what Timmy did? I left them all there in the sink.
Yep.
And then they got mad, or at least Michelle did, that I didn't do their dishes. I'm like, I'm not your goddamn maid. I mean, I'll clean up a little mess. I'll straighten up, I might vacuum your floor. I'll do this and that. But I'm not a maid. You should have done your dishes before you left.
Oh.
At least, if I ever did it again, I'm sure they didn't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
When I went to Darren's house, okay, here's your redemption, Darren. After the divorce, Gracie and Josh were still living in my house after she broke up with me, and it was torture. It was hell. And Darren's like, get out of there. Here, he bought me a plane ticket and had me go to Colorado to spend a week with him, which is very nice of him to do.
Oh yeah.
And Ramona, my cousin, and her husband was there, and we had a really good time. And when I got back, they were out of the house. They moved out, but they left the whole sink full of dishes. It must have been there 2 weeks. It was black. The dishes were just black, just like just figures. But he gave me his Escalade that he had just to have and to drive back. It was very nice.
Yeah.
Something else that Darren did one time, and I remember this. And speaking of that, he would just get up and leave. I think me, Putt, or at least me and Ray all were in his room, when he built that nice, I don't know if it was nice, that wood thing that he had all his stereo equipment on and stuff like that. And we were sitting there, and, he would have his generic cola and stuff in his drawer. But he would, but he got up and said, oh, let me go grab something. I'll be back. And literally like an hour later, me and Ray are just still sitting in the room going, is he coming back or what? It's...
Well, why didn't you hit me up? I was only like one room down. Could have showed you my ant farm.
There you
go. See, at that time, we didn't even know Darren had a brother. It was...
Oh. Yeah, I wouldn't have been much help. I was pretty boring back then. I actually wish I was... it's one of those things I almost wish I could go back and just not be the same person I was, but then I'd have to endure the 80s in Colorado again. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but you could change it.
And believe me, I would if I could. First thing I'd do is I wouldn't have bought those models. I would have listened to my dad and my stepmom and not buy those damn things. That'd have been one of them.
Oh, yeah.
I was very much a loser. I was a loner and a loser. And because when I went to South Middle School, everybody hated me, and it was terrible. I hated them and I hated me. But by the time I was in high school, things had changed, but I still didn't go after, making a lot of friends and doing stuff. I just wanted to listen to music and be by myself. Mm-hmm. I take that from my mom, I guess.
Oh, Darren was a lot like that too.
Yeah, he takes a lot from his mom too. None of us were very much like my dad. Darren and I have a bit of my dad's kind of. My dad liked to make people laugh, but a lot of times his humor was very backwoods Ozark 1950s humor that nobody got, and he'd say things and I wouldn't understand them. He'd like one of his sayings was, "Timmy, never get married and raise your kids the same way." And I never did understand it. And I said it to my teacher in college, and they kind of had their heads cocked at me, and I don't get it. I'm like, damn it, I was hoping one of you would. Tony evidently got a laugh. I don't know.
Ask me. I don't know.
I guess back in the 50s when that joke was, I guess it was more taboo having a kid out of wedlock or something, or it was a secret. I guess that's where that originated.
Ah.
It's like nowadays, shit, nobody gets married. They just have the stupid kids.
Well, nobody has kids anymore. Nobody does a damn thing. You remember there was this huge thing about teen pregnancy back in the 80s and 90s and all that. That crisis is over. Nobody's even looking at each other anymore. They're just looking down at their phones.
Yeah, and when a nerd like me in the 80s, we were always the outcasts, you know, and now it's like nerds get all the pretty girls. Josh was always having a different pretty girl bringing her home. You know, and it's like was like the biggest nerd on the block. It's like,
Yeah, but they know who's going to make the money.
Yeah.
well, nerds generally are like they get the computer jobs, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah.
That pays more than these people like the woman who's in the woman who's like in the hospitality industry or whatever.
Mm.
Oh, let's see.
I tried to get Vinny to.
Let's see what kind of useless facts we can come up with today.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
do you have, yeah, or your games or something. Hadn't played one of your games in a while.
So Colgate, you know who they are, right?
Yeah.
Colgate faced a big obstacle marketing toothpaste in Spanish-speaking countries.
Ah.
Colgate translates into the command, go hang yourself.
Oh, nice.
Well, you know what? They should just go with it and actually have like a hangman logo on it.
Yeah, there you go. It worked for Underwood Deviled Ham.
They still make that with the devil logo. I'm surprised, like some of those weird, like Christian groups didn't.
Well, that's what happened to Dodge back in 71, 72. Remember they had the Dodge Demon, which was basically a dart sport, like basically a duster with dart stuff on it. But they had to drop the name after 2 years. They got too much backlash. And of course, now they brought it back, you know, with a Challenger with like 8,000 horsepower, and they call that the Demon.
I guess the difference is it's all Satanists now in the country. That and the Challenger's anything but an everyman's car. You got to be a rich, like a drug lord or something to buy that shit now.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the super duper ones. You can get the cheap ones are still fairly cheap, but the thing is though, back in the day, like you, everybody wanted a 2-door coupe, and now, God help you if you could even find one. They don't sell. Nobody wants them. Everybody wants a 4-door SUV.
Yeah, they don't even sell cars anymore.
Pretty much.
Let's talk about weird injuries and deaths.
Sure.
4,000 people are injured by teapots every year.
I can believe it.
Just like what, touching it in the wrong place and burning their fingers?
Or trying to throw it at a cop.
Yeah, I just read to you what
We can expand on it.
A toothpick is the object most often choked on by Americans. Every year, more than 8,800 people injure themselves in some way with a toothpick.
That's kind of depressing. I'm glad I don't really do much with toothpicks, but that would be horrible. That would be a terrible feeling.
Well, here's the worst one. 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets every year.
Now, what you do in the toilet and blaming it on the toilet, is that that's two different things. You blow out an O-ring, it's not the toilet's fault.
Mm.
What would a toilet do?
Maybe you got the bidet on too high? I don't know.
What do they pass out in front of the throne and bang their head on the toilet?
Hang your head.
That happened to Bob Saget or something, but I think someone banged his head on the toilet. I don't think he did it himself.
Now, taking us back to the 80s, Timmy's favorite. In 1981, a man had a heart attack after playing the game Berserk, video gaming's only known fatality.
Ah.
Only
Good thing I
known
never played it.
fatality?
Well, I don't know, because or because you get the people with epilepsy and they have this flashing crap on, and I think that killed a few people too.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't be good at like Simon. We had a game called Maniac. It was kind of like Simon, where you
Oh,
had like
Remember that
four
one?
players. You had like a plastic thing with buttons, and four people do something. And I was probably 10 years old, and my cousin Tammy, she got so many. She yelling at me. It was like it was just a game. I mean, yelling like vicious. It's the only time she's ever done that in my life, and I'm like, goodness, I've just a game.
yeah.
I still remember that. Now, if I actually got to revisit the time, it's probably the whole memory's probably overblown. But you know how things are.
Yeah.
Most people button their shirts upward.
Well, yeah, you got to start at the bottom. Otherwise, if you work your way down, it'll never be even at the bottom.
I always do it from the top. I put my
Yeah, but
finger
we
on
only
the
see
collar
you from the
button.
shoulders up. Doesn't matter if the bottom doesn't, and you probably tuck it in your pants anyway.
Well,
See, when I wear like a tuxedo or
if
something,
you're
I got
not a
my shirt outside.
complete, just mentally challenged person, you're going to know if you've got the wrong button together. You'll figure that out pretty quick, unless you're really mentally challenged.
I'm mentally challenged because I never get it on the first time.
You just count down from the top when you don't do the top button, because then you look like a dork. But you just count one down on each side from that.
I did the top button when I had it was a band concert when I was like 12. And I had the top button, and this blonde girl who was in the band, she kind of took me aside and she says, "Don't do the top button. You look really nerdy. You look like a nerd with the top button." She was very nice about it. She really actually wanted to help me, not try to embarrass me. That was very nice.
Yeah, you
Because
should
most of
ask
the people
her
in the
out.
South I hated. And she wasn't even a friend or anything. So it was this, I think about that sometimes when I think about that top button.
Maybe she was like angling to
I wouldn't have known.
I know, me
Yeah,
neither.
when I was in my 20s, I couldn't. My late 20s, I before I was married, I couldn't get the signal. There was this one girl I knew at the gym, and she was in the company that like signed ZZ Top that manages them. She was in the music industry, and she was really nice. And she kind of disappeared for a while, and then I was going to the gym. It was either night or in the morning. It was dark. I was walking in, and she's walking out. And she was like, "Well, hi, stranger." I'm like, "Hey," and I just walked in, and I'm just like, no wonder I was always lonely,
Yeah.
idiot. But I probably saved myself a lot of drama.
Yeah, perhaps.
So here's one. The average lead pencil can draw a line 35 miles long before it runs out.
Yeah, but how hard are you pressing that? Because if you break the tip off,
Yeah.
that's like 40 feet right there.
Yeah. Or if you sharpen it all the way down to the damn eraser and you like trying to hold it,
I never could stand those mechanical pencils. I mean, how do you even use one? I mean, it's like as soon as I put on the paper, they break. I screw the
yeah,
little
you,
thing.
you gotta just like really just get just barely any leads coming out of that thing. Otherwise, they'll just snap off.
It just seems more trouble than it's worth.
Well, most things in life are.
But there's
This
always
guy
an
back
easier.
here.
There's always an easier thing, like a regular pencil and a sharpener. What annoyed me is I needed a pencil eraser,
Yeah, that would annoy me.
and I
too.
went to every pencil in the house. I could find them here and there. All of them had like the eraser that was like a hard plastic brick
Yeah.
that's as worthless as a.
Or it's rotted off.
I don't remember them rotted off. They just become hard and they become like they're just part of the pencil and they
Yeah.
don't do anything.
Just remember, Eskimos have been known to use refrigerators to keep their food from freezing.
Yeah.
Well, why don't they just keep them out, put their food outside?
Then
It
it'll
would
freeze.
Oh, to keep it from freezing.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Never thought about that. Huh.
And I think in hot climates, I think we talked about this before, they should have like another refrigerator that where the temperature is set at like 70 degrees. And it's for stuff that doesn't really require refrigeration, but when it's 100 outside, keep it from just going to pot.
Yeah.
Or
Like a
I've
food
also seen
sauna?
like screened, like cabinets with that are screened, and you put your food in there to keep the flies and shit out of it.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of
I-
flies.
I think Alaska or Siberia or Canada, it seems like those places are like one of the worst places on earth, especially like Alaska, because it's like you would think, well, you have the cold, but then you don't have the things that we have to deal with in the hot, like all the bugs. But you do up there. You still probably have all the mosquitoes they have everywhere, but you got a bunch of bears and things too. And it's like, and Putt was always talking about his experience with hornets and stuff up there. It's like you can't get away from the
I can't imagine the bugs are
Hell,
around more than like 1 or 2 months out of the year, though.
do what?
I can't imagine the bugs are around more than like 1 or 2 months out of
Yeah, but the
they're
bears
probably
are, and everybody- I don't know,
really
bears
terrible for
hibernate.
that month.
I just think that it would be this the worst of all worlds. You know, it's like I mean, maybe the bears hibernate and they're not there a few months out of the year, but those months are, you know, where it's 40 below is for a high.
Yeah.
It's like, who needs it?
We should go to YouTube and look up Russians and bears because they hang out and they'll give the bear beer and shit, and the bear will come up and they'll pet it. And it's like, okay, maybe the bears are different in Russia.
So they're not like the bears here that act all nice until they eat you.
Yeah.
That's why Gentle Ben was only like a couple seasons.
Well, they ended up eating
Clint Howard.
Clint Howard. Yeah.
It pooped him out though, and he still was able to kind of revitalize his career. But
Yeah.
he looked different. He didn't look like Richie's twin anymore.
You know what's funny is I watched that show first run. I had no clue that it was set in Florida because I thought it
Oh,
was
Gentle Ben.
yeah, Gentle Ben. Because to me, bears are from Northern California. That's all I could think of.
I think I knew it was from Florida because the first time I saw it, it was a movie. Because I guess there was a pilot or a movie.
Probably.
And they
yeah,
showed
yeah,
it in
yeah.
school, and I remember they had a airboat. So I don't even know if I knew it was Florida, but as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, they had an airboat, so I guess it was Florida.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
like
was
I say, I
Flipper.
haven't seen it since it was first run, and that was 60 years ago. And because to me, when I saw the airboats, it was like Flipper and shit like that. The
Yeah, that was
the
another
Neverglades.
Nice thing, yeah. Yeah, we got bears here. We got bears. We got panthers. I think we got most of what everybody has, except gators. We got more gators.
Yeah.
I don't know about caimans and crocs. I've heard that there's like some crocodiles, but they're not really a thing. I'd like to be an alligator, but I wouldn't want to be a crocodile.
Now, an alligator can like close its mouth underwater, and a croc can't, right? Like alligators that they have lips, they can, whereas a croc, the teeth are always sticking out.
Yeah, a croc has more of a cone-shaped mouth,
Yeah.
and alligators have more like that. They have kind of that nose that sticks up on the water.
Yeah.
They're cuter. That's why I like to be an alligator because they're not as ugly as crocodiles. What you doing, That's Shot?
I'm just trying to find some more quotes, that we can
Okay.
discuss.
Oh, there's Desi Lou.
Wow.
You ready for this?
No.
Yeah.
So, when Saigon fell in the Vietnam War, the signal for all Americans to evacuate was Bing Crosby's White Christmas being played on the radio.
Ah, smart.
Was Saigon
That was
like
50, that was 50 years ago today, or 50 years ago yesterday, or something like that.
was Saigon the end of the conflict, or when the U.S. withdrew, or something?
Well, it was
What
the
significance?
the capital of South Vietnam, because the U.S. troops had pulled out in like 73, I think. But the war kept going on, and then there were still embassy personnel and all that crap. And then they just kept fighting the war until they overran the whole South Vietnam. And so they were having to evacuate the embassy personnel with the helicopters. I remember watching that on TV. They'd bring them out on helicopters, and they'd land on aircraft carriers and get everybody off. And they would just end up shoving the helicopter over the side because they didn't have room.
And half the time, and some of the times, the helicopter was still running.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching one Huey going over the side, and the blades were still spinning when they pushed it off.
I guess after World War II, they figured, well, we don't need these Corsairs and whatever. And they were just pushing them over and dumping them in the water.
Oh yeah,
Actually,
you can I'd see the picture of an airfield with like P-40s, and they're all parked nose down, just kind of nested together. Just with the nose down and the tail up, and just stacked together like
I was going to say, weren't a lot of Corsairs still used it during the Korean War?
Yeah, they were still, they were no longer frontline fighters, but they were still very good at ground attack. So Ed McMahon flew one. They would go, ho, 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 here's Johnny. Boom. But
that one I flew in, they used it. It was kind of a surplus plane. They used it in like Canada or somewhere for like I don't know, to drop fire.
Yeah, they use a lot of 17s for fire fighting and shit like that.
Yeah,
but a lot of planes, because they were still producing like crazy. So when the war ended, a lot of planes flew from the factory to like a storage airfield, and then got scrapped. Yeah, they might have like 2 flight hours on them. Brand new airplanes. I mean, they'd sell off what they could. Like the B-25s, the little twin engine ones, those you could make a real nice corporate airplane out of those. You know, just put an interior in it. A lot of those got bought up. But which is funny because you see all these B-17s that are still flying.
Guys. I'll be right back.
All right.
All right, and then I'll go when you are back.
Okay.
I was just about to get up, and then he gets up.
Yeah. But it's funny. Like one type, you'll see a whole lot of them, and the other types you don't. Like there's like one flyable B-24, and and there's 2 B-29s, which is interesting because they used them through Korea and all that crap. But I mean, flyable. There's plenty of them on static display. I've seen quite a few of them. But the 17, for some reason, I guess it was easier to fly, and so they sold a lot of them off, in flyable condition.
Oh.
Some of them they tried to turn into airliners.
It's well, airliners back then were probably pretty Spartan. I don't know if you insulate it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess they could be insulated or something where you don't have to hear the.
Yeah, you just basically just install an interior. There are plenty of companies that can do that.
Yeah, I guess so.
What sucks is you'll see like a pile of like not so many people. For some reason, a lot of P-51s, because the air racing people latched onto them pretty quick right after the war. So a lot of those got bought up intact. But you'd see, things like, the Me-262, the German jets, and there'd just be a whole pile of them, just all piled on top of each other. Each one of them now would be worth millions and millions of dollars.
They're very short-sighted then. I mean, they scrapped the Los Angeles airship, and also the Germans scrapped the Graf Zeppelin 2 and the Graf Zeppelin 1, and the Brits, they scrapped the R100. If they'd had any of those, generations like me would actually be able to see a Zeppelin, even if it's in a museum. That I would have loved to have seen a real one.
Yeah, just to have it there, even with like no helium in it, just to sort of on a stand or hung up somehow.
Yeah, it's suspended or something.
And they brought over after the war. They brought over all these planes to test and evaluate. They brought them over, shipped them over to the United States, and then they didn't put them in museums. They scrapped them. It's like, dude, seriously.
I know they're so short-sighted about
Yeah.
that stuff. It's insane. They could have made so much money. Was that Black Tower in I remember seeing that Black Tower in Burbank.
Oh, that's RCA.
They showed
There's Lockheed. Yeah, that's where
NBC.
my dad used to work.
Nice mid-century complex.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that still stands.
Yeah, because I think Lockheed Martin doesn't use that facility anymore, but there's like still rest. You see little airplane related things around it.
They're I know your dad worked there, but aren't they kind of evil? Aren't they part of that whole military industrial complex that killed Kennedy and stuff?
Well, it wasn't them, but yeah, I mean, Lockheed, I mean, they made the Constellation, so they did have civilian airliners and stuff for a while, but they eventually just ended up being, they merged with Martin Marietta, and I think they do nothing but military stuff now.
So I went and got something to drink.
Oh my
But I
God.
did want to go grab this other book that I bought.
Stockpile.
Shane, where I'm going to announce it, so give proper credit. It's by Shane Carley,
Oh,
and it's a
good.
book called "True Facts That Sound Like Bullshit."
Okay, well, give me a couple minutes, okay?
Because he was getting ready to get up and leave just as you got up and we're getting ready to go up, get up and leave. Yeah,
Then I got me a ice cream bar.
Oh crap! I keep forgetting to buy stuff like that. I get ice cream occasionally, and sometimes it's unsatisfying. Like I get the caramel goop stuff like that, and it just ends up there's so much sugar that it makes my mouth feel funny.
Ooh.
I really like just get vanilla. To hell with it.
Yeah, I know that chocolate thing. Yeah.
Yeah. El Taco.
How's life going, Tony?
Surviving. I should start getting my Social Security again this month coming up. They only held back 3 checks this year instead of 4, so.
Just time to stay on it.
Yeah. Well, because I make too much money. It's ridiculous.
According to them, anyways, right?
Well, it's crazy, that what they consider too much, or, because, if you make a certain amount of money and you draw Social Security, part of that becomes taxable. And back when I was doing taxes 20 years ago, it only really affected high-income people.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently now I'm a high-income people. So I got a nice little tax bite this year too, which I'm suppose I'll eventually have to pay. Caramba. And then the job bit with more hours and then less hours. And then, that was nice for about 5 minutes. And then we got the tariffs and stuff. Now the tariffs are probably going to quietly start going away. So maybe we'll be back to business as usual. I don't know if I want to work 7 days a week again.
Oh, is that why they cut back to 5?
Well, no, because they hired a second host, or that goober boop, and he just they let him go and drop the shows just because he was hopeless.
Well, they got rid of him and dropped more than just his shows.
Yeah, they ended up going from because we used to have 6 shows a week, and then we went to like 9, and now we're down to 5. So it's worse than it was before. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just trying to hang in there, and it's the. I mean, at this
Work
point,
for China, man.
yeah, I got to pick up and move somewhere, but it's where, and then who the hell wants to hire a 64-year-old fat guy? Because the Social Security is not going to be enough to live on unless I move to Belize or some crazy ass place like that. It'd be nice to
Vietnam.
be able to own a car again. That would be the nicest thing. I mean, what a
Move to
concept!
Vietnam. Vietnam apparently is like the #1 country that loves America.
Oh, of course they do.
And everything I've been watching, you can live comfortably in Vietnam for like $1,200 a month, American dollars.
Oh, bingo! They give me 100 extra.
Yeah, I don't mean like ramen noodle comfortable. I mean like
Servants,
go
yeah,
out
I
for
know.
like
Costa Rica used to be like that. Americans would live down there on the Social Security, and they could have like somebody come in, a maid and a cook and all that crap too.
mhm.
But the problem is, any place like that, they all seem to be south of the equator. I don't like having Christmas in summer. Apologies to our Australian friends. I just think it's strange to have Christmas in the middle of summer.
But if you can live comfortably,
I guess. I just rather, people will go to the shelter and there'll be like an old dog there and say, "Oh, let me at least give that old dog, however much time it's got left to give it a loving home for whatever time it's got left." I wish there was something like that for people. Like a adopt a grandpa or something like that.
Now, I doubt my daughter would let me be homeless, but it would be awkward.
Well, I always liked it on Dallas because they had the giant house, and they had just basically the parents there, and then the three kids all were there with their spouses, and it was all together. They must have saved a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could all afford like Mercedes Benzes and stuff.
Oh, no, like the South 40, what it called?
South Fork.
South Fork, that's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
But I always thought that was interesting. You had at least, was it 3 married couples there? Kids and all, but the house was big enough for all of them.
Probably got their own wing of the house.
Yeah.
I wonder if each family had their own maid and stuff, or was it just one maid that.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's because the funny thing is when you're rich like that, you live in a mansion, it's basically like you got your own hotel. You're not even really running the house. You got the head butler running everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just almost basically just
Yeah.
a guest there.
I know JR lived at the house too, but didn't he also have that apartment that he had in that building in Dallas
Yeah.
that he stayed at a lot?
Yeah, well, yes. I always thought it was so funny with the Who Shot JR. In order to maintain security, they shot a scene with everybody in the show shooting JR, including JR himself.
Didn't some guy from that show was on Carson or one of those, and he gave it away and was like basically blackballed?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think they kept that pretty tight.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty legendary. There was an actor that gave it away on one of those shows, and I think they had to change the ending because of it, and he never got a job again, I guess, or he was never heard from again. We have ways to take care of people that blab. You missed our show, Gotcha.
Well, I worked on Saturday. Sorry.
Well, you at least warned us that you probably would.
Yeah.
Did you get the invite?
I did get the invite, yes. But by the time I got home, you said you were only going to leave it up for like another hour. And
No, I put up a different one.
oh,
Well, I've got it on Google Drive now, so I could email it to you if you want.
cool.
It's just a big file. It's 8 gigs. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's a high definition movie. So if you can handle it. I mean, this isn't 1999 where computers are only 8 gigs, you know.
Oh, here we go. True facts, as opposed to the other kind of fact.
Actually, my phone can probably handle it by itself. So,
Well, I'll just email it to you and let me know if it works.
so out of this book, I just opened up a page, and this is where I landed.
Mm-hmm.
The Beatles breakup happened at Disney World. John Lennon signed the paperwork formalizing the band split while staying at Disney World Hotel.
Ah.
Wait.
What's that?
Well, Disney World didn't open until 71.
Maybe that's when he signed the.
Yeah, because they were still together in 73.
No, they weren't.
The Beatles?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No.
They
were done in 70. They were gone. That was it.
because I thought they played at Red Rocks in Denver in like
No, they
73.
They didn't do anything live after 66 except for that the
rooftop.
Yeah, the rooftop thing in London.
Because Apollo 13, when did that take place? April of 70?
Yeah.
Because in the movie, and I don't know, it's just a movie, but one of the little girls.
Oh, his daughter, yeah.
Yeah, she was crying because she just it was in the news that the Beatles just broke up. So that would have had to have been about April of 70.
Yeah. But yeah, it probably took a while to draw up all the paperwork to dissolve it
Yeah,
formally.
and it took a while for Phil Spector to put all those strings in the last album.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't supposed to be because they did all the recording before they did Abbey Road, and then
Wasn't that weird? Were they just so unenthused that they just dropped the album and put it on ice because it wasn't a very good album?
They just it was just a mess because they were filming everything and recording everything, and it was just all crap.
Well, according to Alan Parsons, Abbey Road, the reason it was so good is because it was basically all solo projects.
Pretty much, yeah.
They were all just going in and recording their own thing.
Whoop. Oh, there we go.
Because when you think about it, I mean, and Darren would probably agree with me that Wings and Watching the Wheels and What Is Life and all of these, it don't come easy. Those songs were stronger than a lot of than the stuff that the Beatles put out. Their solo things. I mean, it's an unpopular opinion, I know, but that's kind of how I am. And Darren, I think, agrees. I thought their solo works, Live and Let Die, and that was, to me, that's stronger. Other than Gotta Get You Into My Life, which rules. Other than that song, the Beatles are pretty much, not my favorite band.
Okay, I said the Beatles played at Red Rocks in 74. No, they played it in 64.
You know, they had Red Rocks in 64.
The Beatles performed at Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado on August 26, 1964.
I think the Red Rocks were there for several years, weren't they?
Actually, they used it back in the 40s.
Really? Because I'd never heard of it before.
Natural formation, but...
Well, yeah, but I'd never heard of it before until like John Tesh had a concert there.
Well, I think the big one was U2 because I don't know if it was Bloody Sunday or it was one of those. It's probably all their songs in the early '80s. They used Red Rocks concert for the MTV videos, so it's like and they had the flames on the rocks and everything, and
Nice.
it was pretty dramatic. I remember, and that was just. We lived right near there. One time, Darren and his friends, his girlfriend, they went up there in a snowstorm and in his Nova, and he tried to turn around and they went off the road into the field and were stuck there. So he called me, and I had my little Audi, which didn't have a heater, had one headlight. And I was like, I got to go bail Darren out. And I asked my mom, can I take your Oldsmobile? She's like, yeah, if you're careful. And so I drove her Cutlass, which was a lot more plush. It was nice, had a heater. And they were so happy when I came up to pick them up. He said, I'd kiss you if I wasn't gay or whatever. And so I took them home, and they were. I won't tell you about what happened on the way home, but anyway, it all had a happy ending. We got Carrie home before her dad found out and would have killed her and all this other stuff. One of their friends was black. He was Earl. And we were going down I-70. You remember Earl? We were going down I-70, and he was doing like starting a road rage thing. And I'm driving, and he's like giving gestures and everything to this like Mexican guy next to us
Oh,
in the car.
good.
He's like giving us
Good.
these looks like he's like, what the hell? What? He's looking at us and just like, the heck, I'm just trying to drive you fucks home. And so the reason I say this story is Darren will still give this story that while they were waiting for me, they were just tearing me a new one, just making fun of me. And they said it was so hilarious the whole time. And I'm like, well, I wish I would have known. I would have left your asses there in the blizzard.
I'd have turned around and went home.
Well, I didn't know. It was something he said, months later. And
I understand that, but I'm just saying, if you would have known, you would have just turned around and gone home.
Yeah. Well, I told him that. Like, I wish I'd have known then. You'd have saved me a trip.
So Disney World did open on October 1st, 1971.
That meant that they had officially disbanded late 71 or 72 then.
Yeah.
If that's correct.
Yeah, because it takes a while, the legal bullshit, to get everything ironed out. Because
Well, they could have made some more songs.
no, they hated each other's guts at that point. Lennon had a
They
different
just
manager
Paul and
for
John
everybody
hated
else.
each other. The rest of them, they could have beat the shit out of them and set them straight.
Yeah, good luck.
It was all over stupid management. I want this manager. I want that manager.
Well, wasn't it just John Lennon hated the rest of them? Weren't the other three kind of okay with each other?
Well, John and Paul were both power hungry.
And I think Ringo was the first one to actually quit the band, but then he came back.
Yeah, they actually wanted him back, and when he came back, they had flowers on his drums, like a bunch of flowers, because what happened is they were behind Ringo's back. They were doing their own drums,
Right.
and it pissed him off. Understandably. I think Vinny even said that Ringo was the worst drummer of the band. And he's a big Beatles connoisseur. And I don't know, that's got to be a joke because I've heard Ringo's a great drummer. He's not a flashy drummer, but I heard that his beat can't be beat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what. Oh, yeah. It was like I told people I thought the fifth Beatle was Brian Epstein, because when he floofied, everything went downhill with them. He was basically their romper room teacher, And it's like, well, you got the teachers gone. Now what do all the kids do? Now that the inmates are running the asylum.
Yeah.
And it was just, and sure, they're going to get tired of each other, but they deserved a break. Maybe they could have taken a break for a few years like the Moody Blues did. They were on top of the world, and they're like, guys, I think we need to split up for a while and do some solo work with other people, because they're with each other all day and all night, every day. And they had nothing to say to each other anymore.
Yeah.
And they did the smart thing. They took a break for a few years. They did their own solo stuff and worked with other people. And then they came back and they were friends, except for Mike, who kind of, I don't know, it's a rock and roll story, but I didn't want to bore you. I like rock and roll stories.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're rock and roll types here.
So in 78, they regrouped. But Mike Pinder, who's our keyboard player and one of the founding members, he was like, guys, I don't really want to go to England. He's got a ranch with a recording studio in Malibu, and he wanted them to go over to his place. So they all did. They dropped everything, went to Malibu, and there was a big a mudslide, like it was like mud season or something. And they were, I would have liked it, but I guess they didn't, But so Mike just wasn't really into it anymore. And what I guess what happened is there's a documentary of the Moody Blues, a real nice one. And Graham Edge, the drummer, he just got gnashing of teeth when he talked about Mike. like he hated him. And then Mike kind of said, and it was in the special features, he's like, what happened is I was trying to talk to Justin about a song, and Graham kept interrupting. And it's like, and he kept interrupting, and I finally said, nobody cares what you have to say. You're just a drummer.
Ooh.
And he said it was a stupid thing to say, and I didn't mean it. And if you're watching this, Graham, I love you, and I'm sorry. And then he started saying, breathe deep. He started doing some of his poetry or whatever. But, and then I read later that he sued them when they became successful again without him, that he wanted a piece of their pie. So that's never going to make you friends.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, he had left the band. And when they had their really nice documentary in about 1990, Legend of a Band, Graham acted like he went crazy. Like he said, it did his head in really badly, all the touring and this. And when you actually watch Mike's, like, he's not crazy. It's kind of a weird thing for him to say.
You're the one
I
that's
guess
crazy.
he hated him. I don't know, with the lawsuits and stuff. They were on court TV for a week.
Nice.
Because Patrick Moraz was his replacement, was Mike's replacement. And he was this virtuoso Swiss keyboard player, and he was in Yes's Relayer album, and a very eccentric kind of guy. And he didn't look like a Moody Blue. Even when I first saw what they looked like in the 80s together, I'm like, well, who's this guy with the big, looks like Grace Slick with the big fro and the big nose. Like, not like she had a big nose, but he didn't look like a Moody Blue. Yeah. And it turns out he was the outsider. And well, they made an album called The Present, which was a good album, probably their best of the 80s, but it didn't sell anything. And he was under contract, and he's the only one that made money on it. Well, eventually they decided we don't really need him anymore, and he ended up suing them, and they were on court TV, and my grandma watched it, and I'm like, damn, I would have given my right arm to see that. She got to see the whole thing, and I didn't. And Patrick Moraz was a real crazy character. He kept beating around the bush and doing all this, and the judge was like, just give me a yes or a no. And he's like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So it was a real spectacle. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I love those rock stories, even though they're like a lot of them doing it with court battles and stuff.
Yeah, that's why it gets.
Gottschalk was in a rock band for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, the Who, didn't they sing a song called "It's a Legal Matter"? I think it was one of those John Entwistle deals.
He had some interesting songs.
Well, they're all about like not getting along with his wife.
I think My Wife is one of the Who's best songs. I love that song. You remember that song, don't you, Gottschalk?
What's that?
My life's in jeopardy. My wife, the Who.
That's
At the end, she's coming, gonna buy a tank and an aeroplane when she comes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good song. I really like it. And I thought there was a horn section at the end. And it's just, when they actually did like a behind the music or whatever, he was actually just playing the horns. He was just because John Entwistle's a horn player too. He did so he was just doing all the low brass, and they were just showing him do it. Boom, bam, bam, and he was doing all that with the trumpet and the this and that, and just overdubbed it.
Yeah,
that's what I do. All the horns in Apology None are real. But Gottschalk was in a rock band in the 80s. It was called the Darrens.
Actually, I was in a rock band in the 90s called Shotgun Messiah.
Oh, there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you play?
I didn't play anything. I was just in the band. I wasn't a member of the band, but I was part of the band group.
Huh?
I did a short tour with them.
Doing what?
Here in the United States. I went around. Seriously, I went around, and my whole job was to stand and sell their swag at their shows.
Okay.
But I hung out with them for a while, and
never heard of them. I did that with ELO Part 2 with I hung out with the guys that would go out and sell they would just volunteer, I think, sell their shirts and things.
So they paid me.
Well, that's good.
Better. That's such bullshit. Oh, you're a big fan, huh? Okay, do all this cut work for us for nothing. so you can hang out with the band.
Well, I'm
Like,
assuming maybe they did pay them. I just kind of
I hope
assumed they
so.
were just doing it to help
well,
them.
friggin', what was it? Who was Jackson Brown? You know, with this stay a little bit longer, and he's talking about the roadies, and they're doing all that for that minimum wage. And why don't you pay him more, you asshole?
Yeah, I used to think that too when I listened to that. What a butthole! He probably made $50,000 he pocketed with each concert in the '70s, which would be like $1 million now. And it's like, what? He can't pay them more than minimum wage?
Yeah.
Just but what hadn't he in it? Just don't lay a finger on my piano or something like that.
Right.
Butthole.
So our next little fact, you ready for this?
No.
Yeah.
Did you know the original movie Die Hard was actually a sequel? It was written by Roderick Thorpe, whose first book was The Detective, which Frank Sinatra played, Sergeant Leland.
Oh, I think I remember that.
His second book was actually called, it wasn't Die Hard, it was Nothing Lasts Forever. Was the second book, which Sergeant Leland was supposed to go rescue his daughter from a skyscraper, the Claxon Oil Corporation, that was taken over by German terrorists.
Right.
But they rewrote it 20 years later, to be, the Nakatomi Corporation. And
right.
so
Back when the Japanese
interesting.
were controlling everything. Remember that?
Yeah.
I didn't like
I gotta say, that was one of those movies that changed everything.
Yep.
I kind of think Lethal Weapon should get credit too.
Lethal Weapon was good.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's an extended version of Lethal Weapon, which they added in a lot of the deleted scenes, where there were some things in there, you really didn't, when you saw just Lethal Weapon, the version they put out, you just kind of went, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what they meant by that. No, when they add in the deleted scenes, you go, oh, that's what they meant by that. There's some additional scenes that they kept the dialogue in the original cut of the movie, which kind of made sense, but there was still like, what do they really mean by that? Well, when you see,
I haven't seen it since the '80s. Darren and we'd rented it and watched it a few times, and we always kind of joked that the evil villain was Peter Cetera from Chicago. It turned out he was Gary Busey, but we didn't even know who Gary Busey was. I mean, I don't think we hadn't seen Buddy Holly's story or any of that.
Oh, okay. The thing is, when you watch a Buddy Holly story, Busey's like skinny, so you don't really recognize him from his later stuff.
You forget he's Gary Busey like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's like when you first think about Gary Busey playing Buddy Holly, that's ludicrous. But then he just owns it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about buttered sausage,
please.
Huh? What am I missing here?
You haven't seen that recent interview with Gary Busey, because he's all, wigged out now. And they start talking about something, and he goes, let's talk about buttered sausage. Yeah, let's talk about the buttered sausage.
Yeah.
Well, he does podcasts with people. I would like him to be on here.
Yeah.
He'd fit right in with us crazy bastards. The Amazon made some kind of device, a gadget, a few years back, and he did a commercial for that. And like where they rang a bell, and he starts doing this thing with, like with his mouth getting wider and wider, and it was really freaky and hilarious. Someone did like a screenshot of him. I thought it was like photoshopped or something, but I watched the commercial. It's like, nope, that wasn't photoshopped.
Well, here's another.
He almost looked like the poster of Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Well, here's another movie. Sounds like bullshit. The special effects used to recreate the missile launches in Top Gun were so realistic looking at the time that the Navy actually launched an investigation to determine whether or not real missiles had actually been used.
Oops. And I bet
Nice.
you guys never knew I was in a movie.
Yeah, there's Tony. Oh, that's that video for that punk band, Machine Gun Blues.
Yeah.
I've never seen Top Gun.
I actually bought the VHS because it was the first VHS that didn't cost like 60, $70 because they put a commercial at the beginning of it. And so it only cost $25.
Oh, the first time I ever saw that was Darren bought the Ninja Turtles movie, the first one, and they had a Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
like, what the heck? You pay money for this thing and you still got to watch a stupid commercial, and then you got to see all their product placement in it.
Because the VHS tapes, when they first came out, pre-records, they cost 50, 60, 70, $80. And they didn't expect people to buy them. They just expected, the rental places to buy them.
Yeah, I remember that. That changed pretty quick.
I
By
remember
the
paying
later
like
80s, you could-
$50 plus for a VHS of Vanishing Point. Because I used to love watching that movie over and over.
That's your favorite. That's Tony's favorite movie.
I wouldn't say this. It just speaks to me. It just appeals to me.
Nothing wrong with that. I can't think of any that except The Incredibles, but Disney duded all over it. So I don't know if it'll have the same place in my heart because I just think about what they did to it.
Man, I love this patio here, man. I want this patio.
I got to get what?
I'm sorry?
I was just saying they duded all over The Incredibles with
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, you could watch the original and just try to forget the sequel.
Well, that's what all these Star Wars fans have to do.
Yeah.
So if they can do it, I can do it. I did watch it with Wendy Wass a couple years ago, and I enjoyed it again.
Oh, yeah. Because
I was afraid
I was
to
I was
watch
just
it
saying
after-
I love this patio here. I'd love to have this patio. Whole setup there.
But French doors and the wicker furniture.
Yeah, mainly the furniture and stuff.
Never been a wicker guy.
So here's one for you. Did you know Sean Connery turned down the role of Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings series because he didn't understand the script?
Ah,
Sounds familiar.
well, they didn't stop the rest of the cast.
Well, he was confused about like the S words.
Ah, swords, yeah. And YouTube, that thing is so public domain, it's been on the Vortex about 500 times. So just put a sock in it.
Yeah.
Gosh, like, what's your give me your email. I'll send you the movie.
I'll send it to you in I'll send it to you in Messenger.
Throw it in our Facebook chat and I'll copy it.
Yeah.
I'll just send it to you in Messenger after the show.
Well, I forget after the show.
Forget.
What?
So don't forget.
I won't, because I want to watch the movie.
Ah,
Okay.
I've been in 2 movies and 1 TV show.
nice. You get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
That's what last week. I was saying I finally got my account reinstated on IMDb, and I looked, and it's under my profile. It says I was in a movie called After the Fall, and I'm like, what?
Ah,
Wouldn't it? Are they mistakenly put this? And then I got to thinking, that's that movie that they borrowed my truck and they killed me
yeah,
like 5 years ago.
right.
I never did get any notice that the movie was done or anything. I was in a feature film and I didn't even know it.
Well,
I wonder
sometimes
how often
films
that
aren't.
happens.
Sometimes
Do I-
films aren't released; they just kind of escape.
It could have been. Well, I don't know. It's not on YouTube. The director does have an After the Fall on YouTube, but it's like a short from years before. So I don't know about the feature film, what happened. But they did give me an IMDb credit, and that was part of the deal. So I would kind of like to see it, though. Because that's when my world turned upside down, because the next week is when I broke my shoulder, and then COVID happened.
Oh,
So it was
yeah.
just like, started a kind of a big downfall for a while. Hi, Captain Wapton. Captain the Wapton. He likes banging his cone around on purpose.
Ah,
Well, maybe not on purpose, but
I was in a movie called 1969. It starred Kiefer Sutherland and
oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Who did you play?
I don't have it like title character. I'm in the background. Because I filmed it in Savannah, Georgia, when I was actually stationed there in the Army. There's a scene in Savannah there's a scene where a Huey flies overhead,
Ah.
and I'm the crew chief on the Huey. So you couldn't tell it was me if you wanted to.
Oh, okay.
So, two, I was in this recent movie where I voiced some weird guy that nobody knows who he is, telling Clive that he needs to turn the tape over immediately.
Right.
Well, he needed to.
Yeah.
He should have
But who
erased
is?
that.
But now you've got to give me some backstory. Who is that, Timmy?
Who's what?
Who's the voice on the speaker that I played? Who is that?
That's Rob
That was Rob.
using a
Oh,
voice
that's
changer.
right. Duh. That was the guy. Yeah, but who is he supposed to be where it scared the shit out of Clive so bad?
That's a good
I
question.
assumed that it was. So Clive is supposedly the head or one of the head people of Spring Hell Records. And I'm assuming that. Go ahead, Tony. What? Who?
Continue.
So I'm assuming that it's like a lot of record companies where it was a subsidiary of a kind of a master company.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Without getting into too much detail, it was just like the head, one of the big guys that Clive was under, that he probably never met. You know.
Okay, I get it. That's right. It was Rob. With the how did you get the animations to work on the chalkboard?
That was one of Neb watched it today for the first time, and that was one of his quotes. I'm like, that was Gottschalk's favorite line.
Actually, I showed that to other people, and other people were like laughing at that. They were like, because you were actually thinking about cutting it out of the movie, and I was like, don't. That just drew a lot of people, the people I showed it to.
That's funny. There was another scene where Tracy Trell she's unhappy at work, and she starts bawling to Terry, and she just starts crying uncontrollably. And we just cut to Terry with this big look on his face like this. And I was almost thinking, well, that's a little over the top. Maybe I shouldn't have that. But that was Laura's, what she took out of that scene. She's like, I love that look on his face. I'm like, well, I guess I'll keep it.
Yeah, how did you get the animations, though? Do it on the blackboard. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there, Terry. I think you'll dig it. Yeah, you haven't really seen. I don't know. You've seen a lot of it. I don't know when you stopped watching. When I'm trying to think, how did I get you guys watching it before?
Well, you would send us the when you did 30-second or minute updates on the movie, you would show us.
Was I just putting them on YouTube privately or something?
Something, yeah.
Because the old days, I used to, like last page of summer, I had a Vimeo page that was a paid page.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that was easy. I didn't have to send invites. You all just had the same link. And all you had to do was go to the same link and the movie was updated. It was so nice. And then Vimeo was all of a sudden out of the blue. It's just like, oh, you know that pro account? Instead of giving you 5 gigs of space, we're just going to give you 20 megabytes of space for your pro money. Same money or something like that. I'm like, fuck you. So I just stopped the pro account altogether. I don't know why companies do that. What was it? Mixcloud did the same thing where I had all my fun hours. It was free. And then they're like, we can't do this free anymore. It costs a lot of money to store this stuff. And we give artists, royalties and all this. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So we're going to charge you $15 a month. But you can have unlimited storage. And I'm like, well, I've only got 20 shows, period. Do you have like a lower tier thing, like a $5 a month for us that don't use up much? No. I even asked them and screw it. So I just quit doing. I don't know. Flickr did the same thing. You get unlimited space. You can put up every picture in the world, 1 million megabytes, whatever you want. But it's $50 of blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, what if you only have 500 pictures? Do you have they don't understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they need to survive, and sometimes you have to charge. I was fine with that, but why should I be charged the same for my few shows that's than someone like, say, Big Bob or Steve that puts up a new show every day or every week? You know,
Yeah.
it's not fair.
I mean, we could do a show every day if we wanted to, if we didn't want to have anything else to do in our lives, you know.
Some people do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
Some people make money at it, though.
That's true. I mean, super chaz and all that goofy shit. Like this one guy.
Well,
I
you
watched
ready
this-
for this one, Timmy?
No.
Sure.
Beaver butts taste like vanilla.
Good for them.
Well, beavers secrete a substance from their anal glands that is used in artificial vanilla flavoring.
Oh,
Uh-uh.
nice.
That is
So
true.
you're saying artificial vanilla flavoring is beaver
Beaver
poop?
poop. Yep.
Well, the glands back there. I guess
I don't care. I only buy
not
real
actual
vanilla.
you don't buy you don't buy shampoo. You buy real poo.
Yeah, and the thing is the Tootsie Rolls. I like the lime and the orange and the cherry and the lemon, but I don't eat the vanilla flavored ones, and I'm glad I don't now because they're full of beaver poop.
Yeah.
You know what? Completely different company that makes those fruit flavored ones than from the Tootsie Roll company.
Oh.
Really? That's interesting.
And the Hershey's Kiss is named after the machine that makes them. It goes as it's putting the little chocolate.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it sounded like a kiss to them, and so they let's call it the Hershey's Kiss. And there's the
Nice.
Norge
That works.
laundromat logo there. Remember those Norge laundromats with the little spaceship on the top?
Norge
Yeah.
rings a bell.
You got to put the dancing girls back from the 60s in there.
Oh, and here he is, the man himself, Dudley Manlove.
Wow. What if your name was Dick Manlove? I don't. It can't be any worse than Dick Buttkiss. That's about the.
Well, I think he just owned that. I mean, it's like, I always thought Dick Trickle, poor guy, because he ended up floofing himself, but I don't know if it was because of his name or because he wasn't feeling well.
Oh, did he? I thought it was an accident. Like
He was
car
really
accident.
old.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he wasn't the driver anymore. I think he'd retired.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That Jungle Jim, the drag driver
Yeah.
from the 70s, he was like one of the biggest, like funny car drivers. And he
Right.
flew in an accident, but it was a street accident. Like got hit by a
That's
bus or
weird. That
something.
happens to a lot of them. You know, like they're finding a race car and then they get out on the road and kablamo.
Probably because they think that the road is their track.
Yeah. And they don't realize that their car on the road doesn't have a full roll cage or a 6-point seat belt or a helmet or anything.
Yeah, that is true. Give me just a second, boys.
Sorry, boys.
There you boys.
Miss him. I've actually had 6 show up in my dreams now and again. Molly's ex-husband who passed away a few years ago. One of the many people who never got to be as old as I am now. You got to find that as the years progress, it gets more and more common.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm not too far behind you there.
Yeah, but this is kind of the inflection point where it really just starts to go off the cliff. When I start remembering stuff, oh yeah, I remember doing that, and then I have to think, oh crap, that was 60 years ago. Oh boy. Now those little saucers, those are actually commercially available model kits. And if anybody didn't know, this is Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is the greatest sci-fi movie ever made. I almost see the strings holding the flying saucers up. There's that patio again. That's so cool.
Here you go. You ready for this fact?
Uh-oh.
Charlie Chaplin once entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest and lost.
I heard that. Yeah. I wonder if he was already like 60 years old at the time. And the thing was, I don't know, he's so famous. It's like, you ever watched his stuff? He basically just plays an asshole. Because I think people like Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton, I think their stuff has held up better. Because Harold Lloyd, he had the round glasses and all that, and he was always upbeat, no matter what life threw at him, what crap happened to him. He was always like got through it. And always had a smile on his face. That's what everybody liked about him.
Wow. Musician John Cage produced a musical piece aptly titled As Slow as Possible that is designed to be played over 639 years.
Oh, good. Yeah.
A performance is currently underway in Halberstadt, Germany, using an organ specifically designed for the performance.
Nice.
It began in 2001 and will not conclude until 2640.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. Or until they just get tired of this stupid ass crap.
So I got these ordered these pads for Captain, like bandage pads,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a big thing. It was Curad. It's like I remember Curad band-aids. I hadn't seen, like, they had commercials in the 80s. I haven't seen them for I didn't know they still made Curad.
Yeah. Well, I can't let Band-Aid have all the business.
It seems like there was a third too. There was another company. So it's Band-Aid, Curad, and what else?
Yeah, I got some Band-Aids, because my thing is there's kind of a hole left over from when it was draining that sourdough cheese crap that came out of it. But it just comes in a cardboard box now. No more like cool little steel container.
Oh, the tins.
Yeah.
It's only the saltines had the tins.
Yeah.
And after the house fire, they had a lot of things out on the table. And they had, like, I saw 2 of those cracker tins out on the table. I was like, don't throw those away. Is that a DC 6?
7.
I couldn't tell the difference.
Oh, the engines are, it uses the bigger, the R3350s. And I think the tail is a bit more squared off on the 7. Not as rounded.
Here you go. You ready for this one, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
The capital of Nevada is actually further west than Los Angeles.
Yep.
I have heard that.
Because California
Rio
basically
is-
is like, it's almost an L shape. It's very bent because it goes straight north-south and then it cuts to the east.
Another one of those is it like the westmost part of South America is east of Florida or so?
Yeah. If you fly straight south from Washington, D.C. or New York, straight south, you will pass to the west of South America.
Yeah, it's kicked over quite a bit.
Yeah.
You ready for this one? The people of Los Angeles are so accustomed to light pollution that when an earthquake caused a blackout in 1994, many citizens called observatories to ask about the weird lights in the sky.
I believe it.
They were stars.
Yeah. No, I had that. I was at a high school reunion years ago, and it was night, and we were kind of hanging out just outside, just reminiscing and all that, looking up. And there's this big white blotch across the whole sky. And guys were, what is that? And I had to say, no, that's the Milky Way. What? That's the edge. That's what the galaxy looks like from, because it's just nothing but stars, but they're so tiny you can't make out the individual star. It just looks like a white blob. They'd never seen it before.
I don't think I've ever seen it except in pictures because
Oh, I've seen it up in Fairplay when I lived up there.
Yeah,
well,
any
yeah, I
place.
can imagine up in the mountains you can, but
Yeah.
Well,
I do remember.
this was Hawaii, so I mean that much of a mountain, but it's just any place with like no light pollution.
Well, I would think in Hawaii you'd have salt air pollution because that's what we get out here. I just think that when I went with Jack and Darren Earl and Porter, when we went up into the mountains in the back of his Pinto wagon, I just remember the stars were pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I might have seen it there out of the back window of the Pinto. And probably about only.
I'll tell you what, I've seen it. I've seen it quite a bit up in the mountains. It's actually quite bright when you don't have the light pollution.
Right.
I mean, it actually. I mean, if you don't know what it is at first, it actually looks like a cloud, going across the sky, and then you're like, "Whoa, no, that's actually the Milky Way."
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Did you know you can actually see the Andromeda Galaxy now with the naked eye?
Oh, yeah.
You got to be careful, or you can get like public.
Get strained by it.
Luminous.
Yeah.
Now, you can't make out it's a galaxy, but you can see it. But I guess with just a telescope you can buy at Walmart, you can make out that it's a galaxy. That it's that close at this point now. And they actually think
You're telling me that a galaxy is noticeably closer now than it was a few years ago?
apparently,
That's pretty wild.
and they think it's already interacting with the Milky Way galaxy because our two galaxies are going to collide within like the next billion years or something.
Oh, well, you have to keep an eye out on that.
I'll put it
Because I
on
know
my
there was
calendar.
that one Star Trek episode where they were, people from Andromeda were like they hijacked the Enterprise and turned everybody into like a Lego,
Mm-hmm.
and then they modified the Enterprise so it could go warp 27,000, and it was still gonna take them like a 1,000 years to get back to Andromeda because it's
Hey, what
a
about
hell
all
of a
these
distance.
these women that went to the moon a couple weeks ago or something?
Moon shit.
They were like did stuff that they said that they were doing things that Neil Armstrong and all those could only like dream about and stuff.
What, be stupid looking?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they went
There's a lot
to
of people that think they didn't even do it.
well, no, it's called the von Karman line. It's the altitude where you're officially in space. It's something like 350,000 feet above sea level or whatever. But once you pass that line, you're officially in space. So what the Blue Element does, or Blue Origin, or whatever the crap it's called, it gets up there. You spend maybe a minute above that line, so you're officially in space, and then you come back down. And for those scoring at home,
They
that's
thought
nowhere
that they
near
were
the
going to
moon.
be heroes after that, and everybody's just like, "Give me a break."
Well, I
Just
keep seeing the
rich
pictures of them.
people.
They were all standing together, and they're all these like big famous stars. And to me, I apologize, but none of them looked attractive to me at all.
Not only attractive, but I had no idea who any of them were.
Oh yeah,
I thought they said Katy Perry. That's the first time the name sounded familiar. I was thinking maybe she was from Friends or something. We talked about that last week. I
Yeah.
had no idea who any of them were.
well, I remember her from the aughts, I think, but because she was a singer, I'd never heard her songs, but she looked kind of cute because she wore like really retro makeup. And then you see a picture without makeup and it just looks like a blob. Nothing. Look at that. Wasn't that good back then? Look at that.
So yeah. So
Yeah, that's hey, look at Tony. Look behind Tony. That's Tony in the morning when he's trying to find his glasses.
Yeah.
There's
there's Morticia.
No, that's who Morticia was patterned after. That's Myla
Yeah.
Normie, aka Vampira. She used to cruise around L.A. She had this Packard Phaeton, open top Packard from the 20s, and she was on TV back in the 50s. And she'd cruise around. He had a chauffeur driving her around, and her fans would kind of flag her down. Oh, and she'd sign autographs for him. She's a real nice lady. 'Cause
So-
she was Elvira before Elvira was even freaking born.
yeah, with the horror host. So Slim Pickens got to be in everything. So like last week, Facebook. When I'm on my phone, Facebook does this because I think the Facebook purity blocks it. But there's like here's somebody you might want to be friends with, and it was Sean Cassidy, and I'm like, we didn't look like Sean Cassidy. But I guess I'll send him a friend request because I've got a mutual friend. And so he's not that Sean Cassidy, but evidently he's Ted Cassidy's son,
Oh,
the Lurch. because I started looking at his pictures and things. I was expecting was going to see any Hardy Boys stuff, and I kept just seeing Adams Family stuff and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. And he does look like him.
It's
Little
really
like
tall
Mark.
too, or
Huh?
really tall, or
Didn't notice his height, but he's got kind of the same teeth, the same lips. That's why I couldn't like this. Didn't look like Sean. That's immediately I was like, that can't be Sean Cassidy, but it's a different one.
Yeah.
But still pretty cool.
Did you know Sir Isaac Newton actually wrote an entire book trying to prove that 1 + 1 actually equals 2?
I believe it. He was
It was called the Principia Mathematica.
yeah.
How many friends did he have? Honestly, I mean, that's someone you'd really want to have at a party. Would you?
Well, I mean, it'd be the same as, what's his name from the 50s?
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
You
his
know
name?
what? Oh, Einstein. You know,
Einstein, that's it.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking of when did Einstein floofy?
55.
Wow. So I'm trying to think of Fig Newtons now. I'm like I'm in a mood for a Fig Newton, damn it. Maybe not even I think I went from the Fig Newtons to like the Cherry Newtons after a while. So I don't think I've had a Fig Newton since I was a kid.
Fig Newtons are good, but shit, I don't think I've seen them in the store for a long time.
Oh, really?
Of course, I haven't looked for them either, so
I haven't either. You know what I miss seeing at the store, which I loved back in the day, were the Nabisco Little Devil's food cakes. They were in a paper, kind of a wax paper bag. It was yellow and red, and they were like little kind of rounded hockey pucks.
Yeah.
That were like slightly, they were slightly glazed, but they had this wonderful devil's food, center. They were
Yeah.
so
I
good.
remember those.
Huh?
I think I remember those.
Oh, they were so
it's
good.
like, well, it's like, ding dongs are only good when they were wrapped up in the tinfoil,
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Because I remember.
I don't like the ding dongs because they just have that fake plastic icing. I like the actual Hostess cupcakes with the doodle on the top because they actually have real icing. Boy, those are good.
Okay. Yeah, the ding dongs
same
and
with
ho-hos just had a chocolate coating over it.
Yeah, I don't like that glaze.
Remember Chocodiles?
No.
Sounds familiar.
Chocodiles were basically the Twinkies that were chocolate covered.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. I loved the lemon zingers,
Yeah.
chocolate zingers. Now you can stick the coconut one up your ass. I don't want that at all.
Well, coconut. It's my theory that coconut is a genetic thing. You either have the gene for liking coconut or you don't. It's like cilantro.
Well, I've had like dehydrated fruit mixes and stuff, and they have coconut, and I'm fine with it. It's just that where they shred it up, where it's like eating insulation, like glass insulation. I hate that, like the pink zingers. Now something I know you guys don't even remember. This must have been a bicentennial thing around 75, but I guess it was either Hostess or Dolly Madison came out with these Stars and Stripes, and they were they were cupcakes, but they had like the red, white, and blue different icing, and they were so good. Like one was chocolate with the red and whatever icing, and then the other was like a vanilla one with the blue and the white ice. Oh, they were so good. Everything was bicentennial back then. I still have my bicentennial Smash Up Derby SSP
because I
racers.
remember it really kicking off around 73, 74.
They were really building up for that.
Because I had my own bowling ball.
That's when
back
people
then.
gave a shit about their country,
Yeah.
Well, some
now it's
people
like,
still
why
do.
would you? But I had a bowling ball, and it was the Ebonite Spirit of 76, and it was just red, white, and blue plastic all kind of swirled together.
Oh, the bowling ball?
Yeah.
You still have it?
No, last time all that stuff back in Hawaii that I wasn't able to bring over. Left half my life behind there. But
That sucks.
Well, I had it drilled for me back in, I think, 74, and my hands got bigger since then. And I watched enough I Love Lucy to know not to try to stick my fingers in the holes.
I don't understand. Whenever I've gone to a bowling lane, I'm always trying to find a ball, and they've always got tiny little holes, and it's like the thumb hole is like 10 inches from the finger lenses for ET.
Pretty much. Or pianists.
Something. What'd you find, Gusha?
I'm just looking. There's evidence that certain species of monkeys keep dogs as pets.
Well, yeah. Dogs make great
Really?
pets.
I want to see some receipts for that.
Yeah.
Because the dogs are smarter than monkeys generally. Monkeys can give funny faces for the camera and stuff.
But there is a species of turtle that can breathe through its butt, so.
Well, yeah, can't we all?
It's called a fart.
I love this guy. He's like an Air Force colonel or general or some shit. And his map has got the Santa Fe Railroad logo on it.
Can't
even get their own damn map. No, we're the Air Force. We can't get maps. We got to get them from the fucking railroad.
I was telling Neb and Tony at the beginning of the show, we ought to do like shows about like current events and things that people, they actually watch, but have it all like, we're going to talk about actors who are actually really nice behind the scene. First, we'd like to talk about Steven Seagal, just total bullshit stuff. Like we don't know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
People will just watch the one to see what stupid thing we say.
I'm going to have
to act like we're really doing it.
When I start my little thing over here with my fish tank, I'll probably have 1 million views.
Oh, there you go.
I'm literally going to put a camera on my fish tank and just put it on live on YouTube.
There you go.
I remember you said that before. You said you were going to do that, and then like once every 12 hours, you're going to drop your penis into it real slowly.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I have I have everything to do everything, but right now I have a computer that doesn't, fucking work.
Yeah.
Did you just get a new one?
One day.
I thought you got a new one recently.
It's just not high on the priority list.
I understand that.
Well, I do have a laptop that was given to me, a brand new one, but it doesn't have the guts to even do this show. So,
Hey, was it one of those Google laptops or one of those
Google Chromebooks or whatever?
Yeah.
No.
It's only good for serving the internet or something.
Yeah, something.
Because I got an HP laptop back when I was doing that Aflac bullshit, and that thing has a 28 meg, or is it 28 meg hard drive, which is actually just a flash drive, but it can't be upgraded. You would need to take a soldering iron to get it out of there and then replace it with something else, and there's no guarantee that it would work.
I mean, we don't have a single chat in chat.
I know.
Just you.
I don't know. I'm going to give him hell tomorrow. Try to go to his show every week. Every day.
I got to go.
Yeah.
Sounds like the wife's yelling at somebody on the phone.
Oh, good. They're good at that kind of thing. Up. If you need somebody yelled at on the phone, get a wife. Those are good for that.
Goodness. I was.
I mean, it is Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
We didn't screw up that badly.
I don't think so. Neb knew we were going to meet.
Yeah.
So I went because Captain's his hospital counter is now in the kitchen. And I walked in there today and I'm like, oh my gosh, the kitchen counter was just, you couldn't see the counter anymore. There was so much stuff. And I'm like, gosh, damn, I let this get out of hand. It's like a woman lives here. I hate that. I hate that kind of clutter and stuff.
I'm actually almost the opposite. If a place is too stark, I get nervous.
What?
If a place is like too stark, too like there's nothing, there's no stuff around, kind of get nervous.
Oh, yeah.
But then I mean, you do that with artwork and stuff like that rather than just random junk.
Yeah.
Like these people who want to like live like a Bauhaus thing where everything's white and they sit in like an egg chair and all that crap.
That's another thing I hate about 70s movies. All the white and the gray.
Yeah.
The depressing ones.
Oh. Well, as we said earlier, 2001: The Space Odyssey is kind of a depressing movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you'd really get me to watch one of those depressing.
Actually, you know what? It's worth watching one time just to say, yeah, cool.
That's one of those movies where we'd have to watch it together, and I'd have to be drunk.
Well, no.
Well, then you wouldn't understand the movie.
Well, the first half of the movie is kind of fun because they got the spaceships and all that stuff, and like they're flying Pan Am to the moon because they thought Pan Am would still be around, and they had like the picture phones and all that. So yeah, that's fun. But at the end, when Hal goes nuts, and then he's like trying to talk a computer down. It's like, give me a break. But
It was about monkeys and stuff.
That too. Well, that was the
like
very,
the
very
first
beginning.
15 minutes.
Yeah. But I was mentioned to Molly, we should get the Great Waldo Pepper. And he said, that one's a downer. I was like, I guess it kind of is, but I never thought of it that way. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
I didn't like that the woman thing falling off the plane. It was just kind of disturbing.
I don't think, the one with Dern. In like 73, 72, 70, was Silent Running? Was that it?
Oh, Bruce Dern, yeah.
Yeah, where he had the three little robots with him.
Right, that inspired Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
And
that was a really depressing movie if you ever want to depress yourself.
Now, wasn't the theme song like a Joan Baez song?
Yes. Well, it was like the one song he had on the spaceship with him that he would just play over and over again.
There has to be a morning after.
No, that's the Marine Brigade.
Titanic.
Satanic, yeah.
Disney they tried to do their own Star Wars in the 70s with the black hole, and that ended up being really depressing.
I'm gonna give us a subject to talk about. You ready, Timmy?
Go ahead.
Whatever happened to good late night television? The shit that's on now ain't nothing. Remember when you'd be flipping through the channels at 2:00 in the morning? They go, coming up next, midget wrestling, and you'd be like, cool,
I was usually in bed by then. Darren stayed up late for all that stuff.
You understand what I'm trying to say, though? Remember those days of those kind of shows on at like 2:00 in the morning? You were like, okay. On this episode of whatever, this time we find the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, there you
go. Okay, I'll watch.
Well, television's pretty much
I thought you
dead.
said late night. I was thinking like Johnny Carson or Saturday night.
No, I'm talking like after midnight and stuff. Or they used to have like cool shit. Remember they had to have like pool tournaments on and
Are you talking cable? Cable?
Broadcast back in the day.
The early days of cable.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that staticky channel that had the naked women.
Yeah.
It wasn't staticky. It was like all deformed. You could still hear it pretty decently.
Yeah.
I remember growing up in Denver, and I think we talked about this before. Before we had cable, you had the four basic channels. Well, actually, we had 5 in Denver. And then if you went to UHF, there was always some like weird station you could pick up in like the 50, 60 channel range.
Yeah.
And nobody never knew quite what the hell that channel was.
Sounds familiar. Because we had 4, 7, and 9 were the networks. 6
no,
was
you had
PBS.
2. You had 2, 4, 7, 9, and 12. No,
you're not letting me go through. I was going through the networks first. You had 4,
Okay.
7, and 9 were the networks. PBS was 6. Then you had channel 2 was the UHF indie. No, that wasn't UHF. 31 came later.
Yep.
As the UHF, and channel 12 was like Broomfield. That was a small station.
Yeah, it was like another PBS channel or something.
I kind of figured Broomfield was almost like open access. They had like home movies, and they had like they had MTV before MTV. It was called Teletoons.
Well, but I remember 12 had Access before Access was big. Remember AXS? They had all the concerts on there and stuff.
Oh, okay. But
And
those
then,
are the ones I remembered.
Because when I was a
then
kid in the
was like-
'60s, when I was a kid, our TV set must have, I think my dad must have bought it in '58 when they moved into that house, because it didn't even have UHF. Just 2 through 13, it was it.
You didn't have a UHF dial?
Yeah, just it couldn't tune in UHF.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a TV like that.
Yeah, because they're only in the early days, this like the '50s. I think after about '59 or '60, they all went all channel. They called it.
I remember the first time I was a remote control, and my dad had me change the channel on that big console, and had almost like it's like the Apology None TV. It's got kind of the squarish,
Right.
dials, and I remember how hard it was to do, but I did it.
But I'll tell you, growing up though, Timmy, I think Channel 2 was probably my favorite channel because
No,
Channel
it was
2,
all of our kids. It was all of our favorite channel. It's the one that had all the reruns and stuff.
yeah, it was like the independent channel, that
Yeah, we got to see McHale's Navy before school.
Yeah.
Ah,
When we got home, we got to watch the Brady Bunch. It was a fun
and,
channel.
and Blinky's Funhouse was on Channel 2.
Blankety
Oh,
Blank's
Blinky?
Funhouse.
Yeah, I remember Blinky. It was Blinky Fun Hour, wasn't it?
It was either Blinky's Fun Hour or Blinky's Funhouse or
I think it
something
was a
like
Fun Hour.
That
And
inspired
Putt tried
the.
to tell us that he was on there once and that he said there was a birthday cake with a candle on it. And I said, it sounds perverted. He's like, it's not perverted. And he said, when the birthday cake got excited, this candle grew. Like, you're not helping yourself. I've got it on my timeline from my.
And then when I got Dish Network and I had the East and West networks, I had the Los Angeles network. I just watched the Los Angeles news every morning because of what's her name that was on the Fox Weather Girl. God, she was
What's her name?
beautiful. She was married to the hockey player. What the hell was her name? God, she was gorgeous though.
That was the thing about LA is that the LA TV news, it's a big enough market where you could actually pretty much spend your whole career there rather than always wanting to move up to the national or whatever the hell else you're moving around. I mean, we saw people start young and then like they're welcome to the Navy News. Like, they lived out their entire lives on damn TV. Yes, Mr. Train. Mr. Train, we know you're a train. We figured it out. We know what trains look like. And
that's
so-
why.
Yeah,
I like to.
Oh, I know who it was. You ready who it was, Tony?
who it was.
Jillian Barbary.
Oh, yeah.
She
Jiggly and
was
Barbary.
freaking
Yeah, I remember her.
Gorgeous.
Boy, oh boy. Because there was a time when I just watched TV news just nonstop. I was just, I don't know why. I must have been a
Sounds
complete idiot at the
depressing.
time. I know. But, well,
bet you-
it
I
was
just
LA,
quit.
so
I
it was
just-
always fluffy. It was never really too hardcore. Everything had just kind of a fluffy edge to it.
But pull up some pictures of Jillian Barbary, Timmy. I mean, people probably just watch Fox News just to watch her
Oh, yeah.
in L.A.
Julian.
Jillian.
Jillian.
Jillian and then Barberie.
Yeah.
I got you. I'm looking her up.
Or close enough that it'll help you. Now, do not
looks
use
like
this
she's
film.
400 pounds.
Do not use this film if you're running a firearm safety course, or maybe you could use it as like a counter example. Like, don't do it this way.
She's kind of a fatty boombalatti.
No, she's not. I'm looking at pictures of her right now.
Breast cancer.
Probably.
Maybe that's how she got fat. Sometimes when their health goes down.
Well, I sure hope Putt's doing a lot better.
I
Yeah,
like
because
to
he
hear from
posted
him.
about getting a hospital bed in his house or something like that. And that
That's
sounds
but
fun.
that's just never a good sign. That's just
Well, they should just put like a faucet on him, because they have to drain him out every week or two.
I hope he's doing good, man. That's all.
But we were talking about before you got here. We were talking about you haven't seen the film. His last line he does in the film, it sounds a little rough. But his first line in the film, where he's telling the guys how great their song is, it's like you realize that was pre-stroke
Yeah.
when he did. That's how long this film has been going on. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad it's over. I'm so glad to be done with it.
So you start making your next one?
I'm starting some Transformers stuff, light stuff, you know. But
I think you ought to. We talked about this before. I think you ought to just start doing shorts.
Well, that's the idea.
I am. I'm not doing any more feature films. They're either gonna be like episode length, like Star Trip, and even then, I'm not gonna start one for a while. I want to just do some Transformers things. I'd like to do a couple music videos, a few music videos, and see how that goes. I can put those in film festivals too and stuff. But yeah, I really. That took so much out of me, especially toward the end. The last few months had just been like turbo drive trying to get it done, and I just didn't do anything else.
The labor of love, Timmy. You did it.
Oh, I did. It was a labor of love, and now now I'm just trying to get the house and things fixed up before Darren comes over. That looked like a slum. If he still does it, I'll see it when I believe him. You know, believe him. Believe.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know, he has never seen any place where I've lived, any house of mine.
So does the I mean, I hate to say this, but is Kendra's kids old enough now, or daughter old enough now?
Yeah, that's what he's waiting on for her to graduate.
Ah.
She's coming with him. Kiana, she's coming with him. Boy,
Kendra used to hang at my house a lot up in Fairplay.
oh yeah.
Her and Leah and Robin were kind of friends there for a little while.
Yeah, she's a little hard to figure out.
Aren't we all?
No, well, anyways, back to positive stuff now.
Yeah, back to politics.
No, positive stuff. Not
Oh.
politics.
All right,
Hey,
well, let me
maybe Tony can get Lauren to wear like a bikini one night
Oh,
or something.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, Lauren, you'd really draw the male crowd if you. That'd probably be the best sale night they ever had. Guys would just be buying jewelry.
Yeah.
It's probably true though. Guys would be ringing up buying $1,000 rings just because Lauren's up there in a bikini.
Oh boy. I sometimes wish I had a real job.
You do have a real job. Who else is going to do that?
I think it'd be fun to watch them try and find somebody for what they pay me.
I can guarantee you there's no Gen Zer who would do what you do for $25 an hour.
Yeah.
They'd be like $50, $60, $75 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because not only do you need to know the technical stuff, you need to know the gemstones and all that stuff. So it's a weird comedy.
You said a weird comedy.
No, I was trying to think of the Liam Neeson line. I have a specific set of skills.
Yeah.
Did you know that since the beginning of time, like cavemen there was a way to summon wild dogs from
They have those whistles
all over the. It was all you had to do was open a wrapper.
Right.
What is about dogs that can be anywhere in the house? They hear a damn wrapper.
Oh yeah. Well, they got good hearing, but it's like they're listening for specific things.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my dogs used to like Coolio, and
Like if our dog here, and the dog
Not
that
that
belongs to
kind
the
of
house,
wrapper.
yeah, that not that kind of rapper, but like our dog here, if you let him out the front door, because we don't do that, we try not to do that. You can yell until your lungs fly out, and he's not going to come in. He has to go pee on everything, and pee on everything again. And when he runs out of pee, he might then decide to come back inside.
he's got to go say hello to all the other dogs.
Yeah. But he's got to pee on everything. That's the main thing. It's just like pee on this and pee on that and pee on that. And he runs out of it's always like sad, they're oh, come on, can I get some more pee? And it's like, that's all the pee you got, dude. You got to come back inside.
It kind of reminds me of Randy from A Christmas Story. When Christmas morning he pees on that's mine. He pees on this. That Zeppelin, that's mine. Pees on it. That fire truck, that's mine. Pees on it.
It was really funny is when the other roommates, they'll try to run after it. This is a picture like a black lab, only he's like twice as tall as your standard black lab. When he gets going, he gallops like a horse. And you're never going to catch him.
And whose dog is this?
It belongs to the landlady, but he kind of hangs out.
Does he hang out in your room sometimes?
No, because there's no room in my room.
Oh.
But just basically picture a black lab, except quite a bit taller.
I used to have such trouble with Captain when they'd run away, and it seems like the last time, I don't want to jinx myself if it happens again, but the last couple times I was able to get him by just shouting at him to sit. And because that's what when he knows that he's cornered, like when he's got nowhere to go and I got him, he'll sit down and submit.
Yeah, because no telling what your fun neighbors would do.
Well, that's kind of one of the things, and knock on wood, they've always kind of taken care of them, and like Captain will be on their porch, and they're okay. And I mean, other than me wanting to wring his neck with that stupid subwoofer and shit, they're kind of they hadn't been really a problem. It's the damn subwoofer. I mean,
I'll get a big ass speaker pointed at them and play them some Apology Nun music over there.
Well, the problem is turnabout is never really fair play in the real world.
Yeah.
But you can have fun with it.
I was just Sunday night. I was out back with my headphones, and he had that damn thing with the ghetto music and with the subwoofer just boom, boom.
Don't you have other neighbors who are getting tired of this shit too? Or?
Oh yeah. When I go to car shows, there's this one that keeps trying to pressure me to do something about it because I'm the one that lives next door. So he's basically wanting me to shit in my own bed. It's just like, I'm not going to report my next door neighbor. And besides, what are we going to report them to? I mean, you could really I think the decibel thing's only illegal at a certain time of night. I guess. I'm friends with the county tax collector. I might just ask him for advice.
Yeah, just raise his taxes. There you go.
But it's like, well, I could tell them to turn it down, but now I'm a prime suspect if something actually happens and they do get reported. Well, it's just.
Well, the problem is government for the most part is transparency, and I know that's funny, but trust me, they will have no problem turning your name over in a report.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's a good way of. That's the thing is I've got their landlord's number in my phone.
It's like when people would call the police department and go, "I want to remain anonymous," and it's like, well, we can up to a point. But once the court subpoenas who you are, you know, if it goes to court, people have the right to confront their accusers. You know, that's right in our Constitution. So,
Hey, what about that bitch, that judge? She got that guy that was about to be like that did all those crimes, and they had the ice outside, and she like slips him out the back door. So they arrest the judge.
wasn't that in New Mexico?
Yeah.
Not sure where it was, but they arrest the judge, and now all the MSNBC is like, oh no, there's no more justice. You know, they arrested the judge. It's like, it's the first time in history we finally got one of those bastards arrested. I think pretty much everybody's kind of wishing they'd seen a judge get arrested.
Well, it happened in New Mexico, and New Mexico is probably, I would say, it's probably the most corrupt state in the United States, above even Louisiana.
Wow.
I know it's a blue state, which is odd for that kind of.
Well, it's
part of
very.
the country.
I think all the hippies went there because they're, you know, the confluence of the spiritual things and whatever crap all.
The
I can
artist
see
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
Indian stuff.
All the hocus
I used to
pocus.
have to drive through New Mexico to go to Arizona from Colorado and back, and we would try to fill up in gas like in Trinidad and try to make it all the way through New Mexico and get to Arizona before we filled up again.
Mm.
Not a place you wanted to stop.
It's just,
That's kind of how Illinois is with me.
New Mexico to me is like it's still under construction and has been for years. You know, it's just,
A lot of road work.
no, I don't mean like literal construction. It's like the whole state itself is just,
Half built.
Always seemed kind of like a nothing state. We had our family reunion in Albuquerque,
The quickie.
and we went through it when we moved to Florida. That's the only 2 times I've been there.
but the thing of corruption in New Mexico though is they're actually saying now I mean, look at Arizona. Arizona's growing up by leaps and bounds. Colorado, Texas, all 3 states that surround New Mexico on all 3 sides are like exploding, and New Mexico's like dying. You know, it's
No, that's what that corruption will do.
yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Look at the Ukraine. Hey,
yeah.
give us another thing. Give us a question, like a round
There are no
robin.
questions. These are just facts.
All right.
I know. I liked it when you. Well, I like those too, but I like that it's hard to correspond with facts. It's easier when you like ask us something. Of course, that one book was all poop stuff, which Tony
Yeah.
likes. But you know, I was wondering if.
You know, it's funny. They always say that poverty causes crime. Oh, there's crime because there's. I mean, even Meathead said that on All in the Family 50 years ago. Oh, because there's poverty. Now, crime causes poverty.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true.
Harold Ramis, we know who he is, right? Originally wanted Pink Floyd to record the entire soundtrack for the movie Caddyshack.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Wait a second. Boy, they weren't even really around anymore by the time when was Caddyshack? 82, 81?
No, Caddyshack came out in 1980 and it filmed in 1979. So
Okay, I guess they were sort of still around. They weren't a happy band by.
they weren't a happy band since 1971.
Yeah, you're right about that. But it's like the Beatles. You had 2 people that were wanting to take the helm, and you know, I had Nick Mason, the drummer, his audio book. No, it wasn't an audio book. It was a Kindle kind of. It was free on Prime. I thought, you know, I've always wanted to read this book. It's like a real insider thing about Pink Floyd. I really want to see this. And oh boy, I guess it was about the time I went to the wall where here's where everyone's butting heads.
mhm.
And it was really a bunch of nothing. Finally, I went to Amazon. I'm just like looking at reviews, and everybody basically went at the same time. They're like, what the? And at the very end, basically, he said that he brought the book before he published it. He brought it by Roger Waters and David Gilmour,
Hmm.
and they would put X's through entire pages. You know,
Ooh.
or at least Roger. It's like they didn't want anything embarrassing that. So it was just he filled in. It was basically a who's who of everybody that worked with Pink Floyd, like in the lighting, and he would say where they went to school. You know, Ken Buggernut, he did our lighting in this tour, and he went to school at Pennston State and got 3 kids and a Saab, but he would just it was just like he was just filling in pages with just who's who stuff. It was very. There were a few interesting things. I'm glad I read it. There was. I thought what was this? What's it called? The Pink Floyd.
Which one? What?
More hints.
The Astoria.
Oh.
He had a houseboat. It was like a gambling boat from like the 1800s or the 20s, or it was just some big, almost like what you'd see a riverboat on the Mississippi, but it was an English kind of version. I don't think it had the big paddle wheel, but it was called the Astoria, and that's where they recorded a Momentary Lapse of Reason, and it was on that houseboat, and parked out in the woods or out in the creek, and I thought that was interesting. I thought that the way he described it, it almost kind of puts you there. I kind of like that kind of thing. But he said that he was so not incompetent, but he didn't believe in himself as a drummer. So it's like most of the drumming on that album was this outside drummer. So it really was a David Gilmour solo album. Which is a shame because I'd like to think it's Pink Floyd, but
Yeah.
So this book does have some true or false sections.
okay.
The first television commercial ever was a car commercial. True or false?
I'll say true.
Donnie?
I'm trying to think what the first commercial would be. I mean, what time period it would be.
Well, if it's television, when did the television first come
That's
out?
what I mean. It's.
Well,
I mean, they were
there cars
experimenting
before
throughout the
television.
20s, but it was. I don't know if there was any actually commercial broadcasting before the end of World War II in the United States. Germany, they had some, but I don't think they were running commercials during the '36 Olympics.
But the answer is false. It was actually a commercial for watches, and it aired in 1941.
Ah.
Well, you would know that because you're the watch guy.
Yeah.
Actually, I just discovered that. So,
In fact, Gottschalk, he went to see The Watchmen, the movie, and he was disappointed because he didn't really see they wasn't about watches at all.
yep. So, true or false? If you play Stairway to Heaven backwards, you can hear satanic messages.
False, although you'll make yourself believe anything.
Yeah, that's like if you look at the clouds, you can see this and that in the clouds. I think you could hear anything you want. I'd say false.
Well, it says true, sort of. If you listen closely, it definitely sounds like there are some weird messages in there, but it would have been almost impossible for the band to do it intentionally, and they have long denied it.
Yeah.
I think if you play an Apology None backwards song, you could probably hear something.
I'll have to try it. We'll have to try it.
That would be, yeah, why don't we do that sometime? We'll play an Apology None song backwards or part of it. I was thinking about Zeppelin today, and the people said they stole a lot of their stuff from blues singers and that, but when you think about it, just the back, it's blues, it's 12 bar, it's back, it's like, I think the stuff that they stole is so rudimentary. It's what they laid on top of it and what they did with it that was.
It's
cool.
like you stole a 2x4 and then built a whole house around it. I mean,
Pretty much, yeah. Tony's got a good. Yeah, that's how I look at it. Now I do hear pretty much unanimously that they sucked live. And I don't think I've ever heard good Zeppelin live. I did see Page and Plant in the '90s with their version of Zeppelin, and they sounded good enough. But I have heard some like Kashmir live, and it was just like.
Here's an interesting one. You ready? True or false? The fictional city of Metropolis, the home of Superman, is located in New York.
It's in Illinois.
well, the actual Metropolis, but it's sort of implied. It's never really stated. I've heard it described as Metropolis is New York City by day, and Gotham City is New York City by night.
But ready for this? False. Believe it or not, Metropolis is canonically located in Delaware.
Because one
There's
comic
nothing
book
to
that
do.
nobody has said that bullshit.
Yeah.
I hate
There ain't nothing in Delaware.
retcons so bad.
What is that? Explain that to me, Tony.
Retcon, retroactive. I forget what it stands for, but it's you're creating a backstory later.
Oh,
It's like when you say, "Oh, Meathead," Archie really called Meathead because that was a term of endearment that he'd been called when he was a kid. But that didn't come out
yeah.
until the fucking the Dead Edith series. The Archie Bunker's wife is dead.
I don't even look at that as canon.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and that's how people do with Star Wars and all this.
But the term is called retconning. It's a
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard the term. I've never.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I know it stands for retroactive. I forget what the other part of it is.
Concoction.
Not really.
That that's how people. It's so funny on movie chat when they say, "No, this Luke blah blah blah." It was on some fill in the blank Disney Star Wars, and it's like.
Oh, okay.
Just-
It stands for retroactive continuity.
Oh.
That's what Wikipedia says.
Here you go. You ready for this one? True or false? Samuel L. Jackson, we know who he is, once held Martin Luther King hostage.
False.
Just goofy enough to be
You ready?
semi-plausible.
It's actually true.
Yeah.
During his college days, Jackson was part of a group of students that held the Moorhead College Board of Trustees hostage. Among the hostages was Martin Luther King.
The guy who founded the Protestant church?
Yeah, Martin
No,
Luther
Martin Luther King Sr., sorry.
Jr.
Junior.
The
whatever.
Lutheran Church was founded by Martin Luther, no king. He wasn't the king.
What was his son? Martin Luther King Jr.
But then you go to the third, then the fourth, and whatever the hell.
I guess it was Martin Luther King's son. I gave him his water and set up his presentation once.
Oh, okay. Because the famous one who was shot in 1968, he was a junior.
Well, the one who shot his son was the one
Yeah. So probably like the third.
I prepared his presentation and stuff. So that was kind of neat.
See, I could do Lord of the Rings kind of movies.
Yeah, you just got to get that. You got to have not such a mean face, Tony. Boy, you do look at that Gus shot.
Yeah, that's the captain of the Titanic.
Yep. Although in
Did
this
he look
movie, he
like
was
that
the
in
king.
Titanic?
Yeah, he played Captain Smith of the Titanic in the 97 movie.
Boy, he had long hair for the 20s.
No. This
Or 1912
in this picture, he's actually playing a role in Lord of the Rings:
Theoden.
Return of the King.
Yeah, King Theoden.
King, I don't give a shit. It's like
No,
that fucking
not
pool of like the waste oil. The waste oil that ate Tasha Yar. It has a name. I don't care what the name is. Putt will always, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a damn. It's waste oil. It doesn't need a name. Somebody changed the
That's
oil in
why
the
we
car,
like
and
Putt, because he's such a geek.
I guess, but I mean, somebody just changed their oil in the car, and left it on the ground, and then it ate Tasha Yar for some reason.
Oh, you're talking about the Star Trek blob of oil?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Could you have a good would the glob of oil have a good conversation with you and
With a nice
throw the
Chianti.
when you're a kid and stuff?
No.
Remember in The Simpsons when they were all throwing grease at each other in the when they had that the Scottish groundskeeper
Yeah.
something happened and all of his retirement grease went loose and it went all over the gym that he was stashing his grease stash and all the kids were playing and it's grease and Nelson the bully says look out, here's a grease ball. He's about to throw it, and this Italian guy's coming in with some pizzas. He's like, what? I was just delivering you to pizzas. Come on, that was funny.
Yeah.
I quit watching The Simpsons literally probably after like the third season. I just
And they're now at
It
like
was in the
season
90s.
97,
I haven't
aren't they?
watched it since the 90s.
They're up to like season 97, aren't they?
yeah,
Something
and
like that.
the kids are still the same age. You know, the baby's still there. You know,
I really think it's a money laundering thing for like the last 30 years. I mean, it was funny for a few years when it.
Because I remember back at the beginning, Homer, they do a flashback to Homer in high school, and he had like a 70 Roadrunner or GTX. Because that was the age of his character then. But his character is the same age now, 30 years later. So now if they go a high school flashback, he's still going to be driving a damn Taurus.
Right. Yeah, because Marge had a gremlin. That shit. I don't know what I was going to say. Well, it was part of that the beginning of wokeism of The Simpsons when they in a lot of every one of those shows where they had to make the dad an idiot,
Yeah.
a benign, bumbling idiot.
That has actually been almost a staple of television for a long, long time. It's very rare. It's like the King of the Hill was one rare exception where Hank was allowed to be right at least every other episode.
Well, I thought Dick Van Dyke was good because Rob did some stupid things and so did Laura. It just depended on the episode.
Yeah.
Because
he wasn't
were
always the
very
stupid one and
even-handed
she
on
wasn't
that.
always the smart one.
Right, exactly. She would overreact and do stupid things. He would overreact and do stupid things. It was very, I appreciate that about that show.
you know, I pulled up I just typed in Lauren Blair and looked it up. Boy, she got a little chunky, didn't she?
You didn't believe me when I said that?
No, not Jillian Barbary. This is Lauren Blair.
What's the difference?
She got a little chunky, didn't she,
Oh,
Tony?
Laura's
Well,
the
during
one that
during
works with
COVID,
Tony.
because during COVID, I think she stopped doing her exercises and stuff as you picked it back up. Wish I could do exercises and stuff. I walked 1.4 miles yesterday, which is a lot for me. And
Well, I
Didn't
got
affect
all
it
my
bad.
lumber for the monkey bars, and I'm toting all the lumber way to the back, and I'm like, damn, these are big boards. What the heck? I bought two 12-foot 2x8s. They were supposed to be 2x6s.
ooh,
So I've got to take those back.
ouch! Carrying them both ways, yuck.
Yeah, I hate. Yeah.
At least you got that
nut.
nut job with the VW friggin' Golf, with like 5,000 pounds of plywood on the roof, and the whole back of the car is like squashed down.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that meme or that old picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow, I hate having to go to Lowe's and go. I hate going anywhere.
Yeah, no, but, trust me, welcome to our world. You get past a certain age, just going anywhere is like, why?
I know, sucks. And I bought a gallon of polyurethane, and it was warm semi-gloss, which means it's got a tint in it. It's like, well, shit, that when I stained my porch, it's dark enough. It's really dark. I don't need to darken it. I got to take that back too, get something clear. I hate going back because I always end up spending more.
Well, that's how they get you.
Yeah, they give you the wrong thing. They didn't shake up my stain.
Well, they're
I
supposed
told
do
them
that
to
with
shake
the-
it up, and they said they did. And I went and I'm staining the porch, and it's not doing a lot. And at the very end, all of a sudden, it's just like this opaque red. I'm like, shit. They didn't stir this shit. They didn't shake it. So that's my advice is to stir it yourself and don't depend on anybody.
Well, it should be shaken, not stirred.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I think with that stain, I think you do need to stir it. I think you need to dig to that bottom with a stick and get it up there. I should have done that.
Or what did you get? Well, like my dad had, it was like a metal rod with a disc at the bottom, and it had little fins kind of indented into the little disc.
Yeah,
And you put
that's
that on
kinda
a
what
drill
they-
and go.
That makes sense. I need that for the mud pit, like a big one. You know, I still haven't gotten in the mud pit and gotten it started yet.
Has
I
it
get
been
to
warm
do all
enough
that
yet?
soon. Huh?
Has it been warm enough yet?
It's usually late April, so it's about that time.
Because it
But
takes a while for
me
the
long
whole
to-
thing to come up to temperature. Because I remember my roommates back in the 80s, they bought this little brand new water bed. Boy, oh boy, and it had a heater underneath it, an electric heater under the water bed. Well, they fill it up with water and turn the heat on and all that crap. And then they go to sleep, and it's like trying to sleep in a freezer. So I had to sleep on the floor the first couple nights. It took that long for the water to get warmed up.
Well, the secret with the mud pit is it's got to be at least 80s in the daytime and 70s at night.
Yeah.
Because it can be an
guess what?
80-something degree day, but if it gets down to 60, then
Right,
you're not going to be able to use the mud that day because I'd got no, it's all tree cover, so it never really heats up much.
Guess what I started seeing today, Timmy?
Huh.
Love bugs.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing those the last week or two. Yeah.
Well, I would send Lauren a friend request, but she hasn't posted anything on Facebook since like June of last year.
Well, she's got two pages. She had her own like personal one, and then one that's like her celebrity page.
So I got the one where she's got a picture of her like wearing a bikini with this little black leather thing.
Yeah.
Are you going to say some creepy things and make her uncomfortable?
Probably, but I'll leave it. I'll just be quiet.
So hard.
I got a picture
I remember a week or two back. She's talking about we were selling bracelets, and she, because you don't want it too tight. You don't want it to be like handcuffs, and I have no idea what that feels like. And I'm trying to not crack up in the control.
I see a picture of Tony, Lauren, and some guy wearing Wildlife Warrior T-shirts.
Yeah, well, that's me, and then the other guy is one of the other.
Well, yeah, I understand that's you. I can see that.
Ah.
So
And you notice I do not hover hands.
You what?
I do not do hover hands.
Yep.
I was so proud of myself.
She's touching you though, Tony. That's pretty impressive. Wow, that picture of her in the sitting in the blue chair on the beach in the wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She naked?
No, but
Does she ever get naked on your show, Tony?
No.
Oh.
Back in the old days, when on the previous network, I remember she had a top on that had one button, and that button was really struggling. And I had like one hand ready on the camera switcher in case it let go.
Tony says he has had to zip up her zipper before though.
Yep.
Really?
I'll quit being creepy now.
Please.
Yeah, you're being pretty
We're
creepy.
gonna have to call you
Yeah, I
Creepy
know.
Carpus.
It's okay.
Blam.
Ugh.
See, back then you decided you're supposed to back into each other. The bumpers are made out of springs.
That's how you know it's how you know it's
Brought
time
to
to
you by
stop.
Braille. Yeah, well, look at this guy. Yeah.
Mm.
And he's pissed off. It's like, dude, you're coming out from between cars, and you're surprised that somebody didn't see you. Like, shut up.
You know what? I get pissed. It's like when somebody. It's like I was walking the dogs near the beach once, and some woman pulled out, and she banged into some other car. It was her fault, obviously. And when she gets out immediately, looks at her car. You know what I mean? Those kind of people.
Yeah.
Sam Kinison, when he floofied, some drunk kid in a pickup truck,
Yeah.
and he was going all over the damn road, and he was in Sam Kinison's lane, and Sam Kinison slowed down to 15 miles an hour, and the guy still ran right into him. And the idiot, he gets out of his truck and he's like, "Look what the fucker did to my truck." You know?
And what I
That was
heard about that,
interesting.
because his friends were like in another car near him or something like that, and came up to him, and he's in the car, and you could hear they heard him just saying why, and they said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. He said, why now? And then they kind of they'd had him on it was his brother. They had him on the pavement there, and he's like, he saw somebody because he kept denying and saying, "No, I'm not going to go. You know, I'm fine." And then he started talking to somebody that wasn't there,
Yeah.
and he had a conversation with them. And he's like, "Okay, and then he just left.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean,
I
I don't
saw him in
see how
concert
people
like
can
a
be an
year before
atheist
that.
when they see stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, he was a preacher before he was a comedian. He was a preacher. Pretty much the same style.
You think he was just doing a joke? Like, wait, what kind of a guy would joke with do a practical joke with everybody in his, bone in his body broken? Yeah, that was a mad world joke.
Yeah. I got you. But yeah, I saw him in concert like a year before that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Interesting. Before you said that, because I saw a video on it recently that was interviewed his brother and stuff, and a guy that commented on it said, "I was on the same highway when it happened." He said he was in a semi truck, and that guy was going the opposite direction in his lane. He said he almost rolled his truck trying to get out of the way.
Ah.
And then he went on the CB and was trying to warn people about it. And the next thing you know, they said he hit somebody. And then he said it was like on the news. He saw the next day it was Sam Kinison. He said that, if he hadn't have veered off, those guys would have died in the pickup, but they would have saved Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
It's kind of, and he's lived with that all his life. I thought that was as interesting as the other story, Go ahead.
So, true or false? It's a history question. There's one passenger who was aboard both the Titanic and the Britannica when they were sunk.
Well, she wasn't a passenger, but yes. She was, I think, a stewardess on the Titanic. And I think she was like maybe not a full-on nurse, but because the Britannic was a hospital ship at the point. She was also on board the Olympic when the Olympic was run into by the HMS Hawk.
And
Which
her
put
name
a
is
big
Violet Jessup.
Violet Jessup, yeah.
Yep.
So she was
think
all
it
three of the
her
sister
fault?
ships.
All those things might have been her fault.
Yeah.
Maybe she's behind all of it.
Good day, Tony.
And they finally they went down to the Titanic with this powerful like scanning equipment where they were able to, because there's no way to get light down there, but they were able to, I think, use sound waves, something like that, and they really were able to map everything like right down to the rivets. And they found the number 401 on the propeller, which finally gets rid of that stupid ass conspiracy theory about how they switched out the Titanic at the Olympic. Yeah, it's one of those conspiracy theories that Putt still believes, but you have to tell him, no, Putt, it's not.
Well,
True
how
or
did they get
false?
the Titanic movie? How did we see how the Titanic looked underwater without any light?
Well, I mean, all you can see is just little patches. You get a super powerful light, and you can see a little bit, and you see a little bit here,
Oh.
a little bit there.
Well, I think a lot of it was just cinematic.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
effect.
but because you can't see crap until you get like almost right on top of the ship, and then you can see, oh, there you are.
Yeah. True or false? Hitler had a nephew who fought against him in World War II.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure that's true. I don't think his family was all about it.
Well, no, his sister defended him to the end.
Yeah. True. William Hitler, who later changed his name to William Houston, served in the U.S. Navy during the war.
Yeah.
Oh, U.S. So there was no, I mean, there's Kennedys that they go after RFK Jr. tooth and nail.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Because he's Republican. He's like the only Republican in the entire family.
I think he was a Republican up until recently.
Yeah, but that
Switched over.
he
Yeah,
only became. I only think he's independent.
yeah, I don't know.
But he was Democrat, but he stopped being Democrat because they basically did him like they did Bernie or Ernie or whatever. You know that.
Well, they're a weird family. They had their one sister lobotomized because she was too horny. This was back in the 40s.
Wow, that is weird.
well, what's her name was a staunch Democrat until she married Arnold Schwarzenegger and switched to
Maria
Republican.
Shriver, yeah.
Yeah,
And then he goes and bangs the damn maid and has like a half Mexican kid.
Yep.
And then he tells us to screw our freedom.
Oh, of course.
But isn't Maria Shriver a Kennedy?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Is she an actress or something? I've heard the name.
I think she was a news.
She was news.
Yeah, she
on, like
was news media before that.
I am so unmedia oriented.
Because I used to be really into it, and then one day I just dumped it.
Had enough.
Yeah.
It's like me. I used to run a lot. When I went into the Army, I became a runner. And I ran even for a couple of years after I got out of the Army. And then one day I literally just woke up and went, no, I'm not running anymore.
Ain't paying me to do it. Well, I used to love walking a lot, but just that the hip is kind of, although it's not bad now. I mean, I actually got a cane, and I actually used the cane for most of a year, but now I just use the cane to turn the lights off when I go to bed or close the window or curtains.
We need to get Tony a clapper, so he can go.
Yeah.
Like that woman that looks like a witch that had their hair all. Remember that? That one that does that looks all mad and has that clap at the end of the clap commercial. She looked kind of like a witch with her hair. Really, she's just an old lady with her hair down, but that kind of.
See, that was one of those commercials that was on at like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
And you didn't realize how old it was, because I remember in the I remember in the 80s or even maybe even the 90s, seeing the Tootsie Pop commercial with the owl.
Yeah,
and it was old and scratchy and shit, but it was the same commercial.
That was one of the longest running commercials ever. That wasn't even a late night thing. They just showed that all the time.
Oh yeah, and the other one was the classical music one where the guy's standing there and he's. Did you know that this song was originally written by blah, 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 and it was like, this was actually the Polyvetzian Dance Number 3 by Borodin, blah, blah, blah. That commercial goes all the way back to 1970.
Yeah, so did the Tootsie Pop commercial and the Need More Calgon commercial. They're all from that 19...
How about the Zamfir commercials?
Oh, Jesus H. Or Zamfir, the best, I think, was good old Slim Whitman, man. He sold more records than the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Chuck Woolery all together.
That makes sense. And remember the another long running, the world looks mighty good to me because Tootsie Rolls are all I see. Whatever it is I think I see becomes a Tootsie Roll to me. I like that commercial.
Yeah. Or the Mikey Likes It commercial. God, that thing ran forever.
Actually, I don't miss the commercials, but remember those, Time Life music things where they had like 20 CDs or 20 tapes with your favorite, and the commercial lasted for like 6 minutes and you were like,
It was hard because it's like, this is the dawning, and then they go to the next one, and it says like I didn't even get the hook.
And the whole list of songs would go on for like 3-4 minutes going up the screen.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like to see those again. Some of the ones I remember.
And you'd
They're
hear
on
like a
YouTube.
snippet from every fifth song that will scroll by.
They're on YouTube.
Yeah.
What do you look at? TV commercial song compilations?
Just look up the
Compilations,
Time Life music commercials.
Yeah.
I'll have to look
Commercials
that up.
nowadays, I cannot watch them. I cannot.
Oh, commercials.
Yeah.
I can't. I got the ad. BL Ockers.
And how many of us still owe Columbia House money?
I don't. I had the. What was it? BMG. I had one of those. Clearing.
Same difference.
Yeah, I was a member for a few years, and what it is they'd send you a postcard, and you'd have to send the postcard back, and they want to send you, the Osmonds or something you don't want, and you just put a check mark on it that you don't want that Osmonds, and otherwise it's a pretty good deal. I used to get, I got the whole Beach Boys Good Vibrations box set, the 4 CD box set with all the artwork and everything, the big booklet for like $10. I think they manufacture all the stuff there, but you get some good deals. I got a lot of CDs back then.
Because in the olden days, the thing, you would actually tape a dime to the little form. You filled out the form, put your name, address on it, and taped the dime to it.
That sounds familiar.
I remember that. Yeah.
But remember Terry Summers' mom in the new film? She's like, you need to get a hold of that record club. This stuff is stacking up. She's got boxes all the way up to like 5 feet high.
Anyways, guys, it's after 9.
All right. Well, take care, fellers. Thanks for hanging out, Gus Chuck. I don't know how we would have done it otherwise.
Yeah,
You probably wouldn't have been here by now.
Yeah,
don't
we
think
probably would have
so.
crapped out about after the first hour. But folks, for those of you watching, thank you for watching. We appreciate it.
And thank you for watching later on if you're not watching it right now.
Yeah,
So,
there you go. And next week we'll be doing the Transformama thing again, and that's going to be fun.
Cool.
And but for now, I'm going to push the button.
All right.